The Ishikawa electric shop is dead, its shutters slammed shut with a cold, closed sign taped to the front. A lonely toolbox and a tangled cord are all that's left. Ghostly relics of a life that's been ripped away. Staring at his father's photo, Ryuichi chokes back tears as he begs for forgiveness for failing to save the family business. Standing in the hollow silence of the storeroom, the crushing reality hits him. He's officially lost everything. He slams his head against the floor, desperately screaming for just one single chance to survive. An old man delivers the crushing blow, admitting the tanking economy has left him powerless to help. Ryuichi grinds his forehead into the dirt, pleading for any scrap of work he can find. Staring at the ceiling, he realizes his entire existence has been nothing but a never-ending grind. In a final act of desperation, he reaches out to an old high school buddy he hasn't spoken to in years. A cold, robotic voice answers instead, informing him that the number has been disconnected forever. He collapses onto his bed, the bitter truth finally sinking in. He traded every single friend for a soul-sucking job. Staring blankly at the ceiling, he wonders if his room was always this tiny and suffocating. A wave of pure despair washes over him as he realizes he's lost absolutely everything. A vibrant title page flashes by, showing Ryoichi standing in a magical world with two mysterious girls. Another epic title page introduces a fierce fox-eared swordswoman and a powerful young elf mage. Desperate for an escape, he decides to kill time by diving into a web novel. But his finger slips, accidentally clicking on a suspicious banner ad. A bizarre ad pops up, asking the ultimate question, do you want to be transported to another world? His gut tells him this site looks incredibly sketchy and totally untrustworthy. Bored out of his mind and with nothing to lose, he decides to fill out the questionnaire anyway. The test drops a bombshell, asking if he's truly ready to survive a world crawling with monsters and magic. He's absolutely stunned by how insanely long and detailed this survey actually is. He glances at the clock and realizes it's already 3:20 in the morning. Hours fly by as he grinds through every single question of this never-ending questionnaire. Finally finished, he slams the send button to submit his answers once and for all. A glowing magical sigil flashes on the screen, thanking him for his cooperation. He stares at his phone, totally underwhelmed and wondering if that was really all there was to it. Out of nowhere, the sharp chime of his doorbell screams through the silent apartment. He heads to the door, figuring it's just some late-night delivery service at his step. A man dressed in a sharp, pristine white suit politely asks if he's speaking to Ishikawa Ryuichi. The mysterious man flashes a business card, introducing himself as Kamashiro Hajime. Ryuichi asks if he's just a salesman, but Kamashiro reveals he's actually there to follow up on that survey. He's here for one reason: to confirm if Ryuichi is truly ready to leave this world behind. Ryuichi's jaw drops in total confusion, convinced this has to be some kind of elaborate prank. Kamashiro just smiles, telling him that seeing is believing before offering a sneak peek of the other side. With a sudden clap of his hands, the very fabric of reality begins to warp and shift. In the blink of an eye, they're transported to the middle of a breathtaking, glowing, magical forest. Kamashiro proudly declares that this stunning new world is his final destination, the land of Staria. Ryuichi touches his face in total shock, realizing this incredible world is actually real. Kamashiro points out a small, jiggly creature and reveals that it's actually a slime. Ryuichi watches closely, but Kamashiro warns him that this species is absolutely lethal to humans. Ryuichi stands frozen in confusion as the harmless-looking creature starts to mutate. The slime twists into a fanged monstrosity, forcing a desperate cry for help from Ryuichi. Kamashiro doesn't flinch as he vaporizes the beast with a massive sphere of holy light. He reveals that magic rules this land and dares Ryuichi to give it a shot. Ryuichi hits the dirt in a state of pure panic, but Kamashiro hauls him back to his feet. After a quick crash course, Ryuichi actually pulls it off and masters his first magic spell. When the sun rises the next day, they sit down to get into the nitty-gritty of the deal. Kamashiro is ready to reveal everything, but he has one terrifying warning first. He looks him dead in the eye and declares that returning to Earth is now impossible. Ryuichi's heart sinks as he panics, desperate to know what happens to his life back home. Kamashiro drops a bombshell. Every trace of Ryuichi's existence will be wiped from the face of the earth. But to make up for it, the god reveals a massive catalog of insane perks for his new life. Ryuichi's eyes widen as he realizes he's looking at legendary cheat abilities. He's instantly gifted divine appraisal, universal language, an item box, and a massive 10 times growth boost. On top of that, He gets to handpick 3 god-tier powers from a massive encyclopedia. Ryuichi frantically flips through the pages, his mind racing with the infinite possibilities. The list is insane, ranging from godlike strength to master-level crafting skills. He's floored by the fact that he can master any skill instantly without lifting a finger to train. It feels just like a Christmas catalog, and Kamashiro tells him to take all the time he needs. But wait, Kamashiro drops a bombshell. There's one final bonus. A legendary gift straight from the heavens. This isn't just any item. It's a custom masterpiece forged by the hands of the head god himself. Ryochi's mind races, imagining something insane like a car that can rip through the fabric of time. Kamashiro shuts that down instantly, warning him that messing with time is a total taboo. Instead, he tells Ryochi to think long and hard about this life-changing offer over the next few days. With that, Kamashiro vanishes, vowing to return in exactly 3 days for his final answer. Ryochi is left all alone, standing in the quiet shadow of his family's old clothing shop. As the days tick by, his mind is already set. He's leaving this world behind for good. The timing is just too perfect, appearing right when he's hit rock bottom and lost absolutely everything. He takes one last stroll past his old school, a final bittersweet goodbye to the life he's leaving behind. He stands before the local shrine, offering a silent, heartfelt farewell to the only home he's ever known. His mind flashes back to a final, bittersweet meal at his favorite neighborhood diner. This was the legendary spot where he and his father shared countless memories after a long day's work. The kindly old owner saw the heavy weight on his shoulders and asked what was eating at him. Ryuichi poured his heart out, admitting he was standing at a massive, life-changing crossroads. The old man opened up, sharing how he once walked away from a stable career to chase his wildest dreams. Sliding a plate of free gyoza across the counter, the owner urged him to take the leap and challenge his destiny. Ryuichi felt a surge of inspiration from the man's deep wisdom and that simple, powerful act of kindness. He wanders through the glowing, neon-lit streets of his childhood one final time. Standing atop a massive hill, he stares out at the horizon, soaking in the view before leaving it all behind. He stands tall, soaking in every last detail of the world he's about to leave behind forever. As the sun dips below the horizon, his life on Earth officially comes to a dramatic end. 3 days later, he's standing outside the abandoned electric shop, waiting for Kamashiro to arrive. He hands over the signed contract, fully embracing the wild destiny that awaits him. He asks the big question: does he have a secret mission to pull off in this new world? Kamashiro promises him total freedom. He can live his new life exactly how he wants. Ryuichi passes over the list of the insane abilities and god-tier gifts he's chosen. Kamashiro is stunned to see 0 combat skills on the list. But Ryuichi has a genius plan in mind. He explains that he only picked the rarest abilities, the ones he could never learn on his own. Kamashiro is genuinely impressed, realizing these unique skills might just keep him alive. He grins, knowing these insane abilities mean Ryuichi won't be killed that easily. He lands in the new world and his appraisal skill instantly spots 3 lesser wolves closing in. His pathetic low-level status flashes before his eyes, but he refuses to let this be his grave. He realizes that even with his new magic, these beasts are way stronger than him. He tries to launch an attack, but the monsters charge with terrifying speed. The 3 horned wolves pounce, turning into a lethal blur of fur and fangs. His panicked magic blast misses completely, exploding uselessly in the distance. One wolf crashes into him with brutal force, pinning him violently to the dirt. Jagged fangs sink deep into his neck and blood gushes from the horrific wound. As his vision fades, he can't believe his life is ending before his adventure even truly began. Spitting in the face of death, he forces every ounce of mana into a swirling sphere of destruction. Even pinned to the dirt, he lets loose a blast that sends 2 wolves flying in a shower of sparks. Pure energy explodes from both palms, absolutely shredding the beasts into nothingness. He pulls himself up, a grin forming as he realizes he's finally mastered the art of dual casting. A celestial hum echoes through the air as his horrific wounds start stitching themselves back together. It hits him. He possesses the legendary gift of god-tier regeneration and a body that simply refuses to die. Out of nowhere, the massive pack leader lunges, moving like a blur of fur and fangs. Panic flares for a second. The beast is moving way too fast for him to chant another spell. Relying on pure instinct, he sidesteps the strike and delivers a bone-shattering kick. He gasps for air, his lungs burning after that lightning-fast, brutal counter-strike. He stares in total shock, realizing he just obliterated that beast with a single massive kick. This terrifying surge in strength is all thanks to his broken 10 times growth ability. Channeling his inner web novel protagonist, he harvests a valuable trophy from the fallen monster. He calls upon his divine gift, a magical, all-seeing map that tracks everything. He's absolutely stunned by how the map intuitively pinpoints his location and his next destination. Following the glowing path, he sees that IS village is finally within his reach. But at the village gates, a cold-eyed guard stops him dead in his tracks and demands identification. Ryuichi admits he's empty-handed, causing the guard to eye him with deep suspicion. He nervously claims he's just a runaway looking for adventure, but the guard just glares back. Finally, the guard delivers the bad news. Entry for the undocumented will cost 3 silver coins. The guard glares at the strange coins with deep suspicion, but Ryoichi quickly claims a merchant handed them over. Every single cent from his life on Earth has been transformed into a massive mountain of local gold. He realizes the entry fee is basically 3,000 yen, just like paying for a ticket to a theme park. A nearby chart breaks down the exchange rates, showing exactly how this world's money stacks up against the yen. The guard finally steps aside and lets him through, welcoming him to IAS with a chilling warning. He wanders through the old-fashioned village, staring in awe at the strange wooden structures surrounding him. His shredded, blood-stained clothes make every single villager stop and stare in pure terror. Terrified whispers follow him down the street as the locals watch this blood-soaked stranger walk by. Pushed to his absolute limit, he knows he desperately needs a place to wash off the gore and collapse. Suddenly, he spots a welcoming inn called the Forest's Respite, his only hope for a good night's sleep. Stepping inside, a young maid named Mary welcomes him, but her jaw drops the moment she sees his state. She panics and sprints to his side, desperate to find a doctor for those gruesome wounds. Once the tension settles, she introduces herself as Mary and offers to give him a full tour of the place. To wrap things up, the bubbly Mary asks Ryoichi exactly how he spells his name. She scribbles it down with a grin, declaring that his new nickname is officially Roseanne. Ryuichi is hit with a sudden shock. His language skill lets him speak and read, but writing is a total mystery. The veteran innkeepers watch from the shadows, terrified that Mary is putting her faith in a man drenched in blood. Mary sweet-talks him into letting her wash his shredded rags, but he quickly turns her down. He reveals his trump card, the item box, and prepares to pull out a fresh set of gear. This incredible ability lets him stash anything he wants inside a literal pocket dimension. A blinding flash erupts as Ryuichi summons a crisp folded work jacket out of thin air. The innkeeper and Mary are frozen in place, their jaws hitting the floor in absolute shock. Clutching the fabric, Mary screams that this incredible power must be a gift from the gods. Ryuichi is stunned by her reaction, confused if a power like this is actually that rare. Mary insists that even elite A-rank adventurers would kill for a legendary skill like this. She catches a whiff of the rare material and fresh aroma, which he casually explains is just laundry detergent. Ryuichi realizes this incredible convenience is fueled by the memories of his lost homeland. A flashback reveals Kamishiro questioning him about his second divine gift, a massive shipping container from Earth. Ryuichi had pointed out a beat-up 10-foot shipping container tucked away in his family's old warehouse. Kamishiro flashed a warm smile, already dreaming up a much more powerful version of Ryuichi's gift. He suggests a wild idea, turning the entire warehouse into an otherworldly dimension tucked right inside his item box. Kamishiro steps up, offering to sync his third god gift, the breeding box, directly with the warehouse. This insane breeding box can actually duplicate items by burning through currency and converting their raw value. Now his item box holds a massive eternal storeroom where time itself stands completely still. Ryoichi realizes this bottomless storage might just be his most broken cheat ability of all. Staring at his dwindling funds, he knows it's time to find a real job and secure some official ID. Mary chimes in with a plan, explaining that the only way to get identification is by registering with a guild. She points him toward the local woodworkers guild, but drops a heavy warning. The entrance exam is a total nightmare. He steps into a chaotic guild hall where master craftsmen are hauling massive logs and carving away with intense focus. The receptionist looks up from her desk and asks the big question. Is he here to join their ranks? She lays it out straight. If he wants in, he's got to pay the fee and survive their brutal test. When he asks about the success rate, she drops a bomb. Only 40% of trained pros actually make the cut. With 0 allies to back him up, Ryuichi realizes he's got no choice but to face the exam head-on. Suddenly, a mountain of a man named Gaido confronts him, laughing at his scrawny build. Shaken by the proctor's terrifying intensity, Ryuichi stammers that he's way tougher than he looks. The old guildmaster just watches calmly, stating that they're about to find out what he's truly made of. The first challenge is revealed. He has to shatter a massive log using the axe they've provided. Yask scoffs, wondering if this skinny newcomer can even lift such a heavy-looking weapon. The second Ryuichi's hands touch the grip, a massive jolt of pure shock hits him. He gasps at the crushing, impossible weight, wondering what kind of insane axe this could possibly be. The examiners, Yasuke and Jito, stare him down with cold, unmoving eyes as he struggles to survive. Ryuichi grinds his teeth, knowing that failure here means losing everything. He quickly realizes that fighting the axe's crushing weight is a losing battle. A brilliant idea strikes. He'll turn the axe's massive weight into his greatest weapon. Straining every muscle, he focuses entirely on keeping that blade dead straight as he hauls it upward. The massive blade screams downward, slamming into the log with pinpoint precision. With a roar of pure determination, he drives the axe home, shattering the log right down the middle. Jito stands there speechless, while Yasuke admits that this wild technique actually earns him a pass. Gaido reveals the second trial. He must carve a perfect square hole right through a solid log. But as Ryuichi grabs the guild's tools, he realizes this wood is so tough he can barely leave a scratch. He whips around to the guildmaster, asking if there's a ticking clock he needs to worry about. He realizes that at this snail's pace, he'll be stuck working for over 24 hours. Ryuichi requests to use his own custom tools, and Yasuke gives him the thumbs up. He triggers his rare ability, summoning the brilliant, glowing interface of his item box. The surrounding guild members are absolutely stunned, completely floored by his legendary skill. He reaches into his digital storage and selects the icon for a modern, cordless power drill. With a soft, magical shimmer, the high-tech tool from his old world materializes in his grip. He gets to work, the high-pitched scream of the drill echoing through the massive hall. He remembers the day his late father gave him this very drill as a special gift. Holding the familiar tool, he blows a stray piece of sawdust off the casing, ready to go. The crowd erupts in whispers, stunned by the mysterious and devastating weapon in his hands. Yasuke Marks realizes he's witnessing history. No one has ever used a magic tool in this exam before. Jito shouts the verdict. Ryuichi passed, shattering every previous record in the process. The guildmaster immediately orders his staff to forge a brand new guild card for this rising star. The spectators can't stop buzzing, labeling the newcomer as a legendary magic tool master. Later on, Yasuke is absolutely floored when he realizes Ryuichi cleared the entire trial without a single drop of magic. He explains that these trials were built to push physical limits and test magical flow to the breaking point. Ryuichi just scratches his head and apologizes for breaking all the rules with his insane methods. Yasuke drops a bombshell. That axe is a divine gift from the gods, and it's impossible to move without massive power. Ryuichi's jaw hits the floor as he stammers out the words, "A gift from the gods?" Yasuke gives a sly wink, revealing the axe is enchanted. Proof that the gods themselves are smiling down on Ryuichi. He thrusts a wooden plaque toward a stunned Ryuichi, officially presenting him with his very own guild card. With a powerful handshake, Yasuke formally welcomes him into the ranks of the Woodworkers Guild. Ryuichi shrinks back, humbly admitting he feels totally unworthy since he's never had any real training. Suddenly, the massive and muscular Gaido interrupts the moment with a thunderous shout. He slams a heavy arm around Ryuichi's neck, declaring right then and there that the boy is his new apprentice. That evening, the town erupts as a voice announces a massive welcome party for the newcomer at the local tavern. Surrounded by a mountain of food, Jito is blown away by how well Ryuichi can hold his liquor. Two giant wooden tankards smash together as the whole room erupts in a rowdy, drunken cheer. His face flushed with pure adrenaline, Jito slams his hand down and challenges Ryuichi to an intense arm wrestling match. Everyone's jaws hit the floor as Ryuichi actually goes toe-to-toe with his master's insane power. Basking in the cheers of his new crew, Ryuichi finally feels the warmth of being recognized again. Staring up at the moon, he reflects on the massive gamble he took by abandoning Earth for this strange new world. Standing solitary in the village square, he swears an oath to seize every single moment of this new life. High in the heavens, Kamishiro delivers a chilling warning. In the land of Staria, death is always lurking in the shadows. A winged goddess looks down, questioning if this newcomer Ryuichi truly has what it takes to survive the trials ahead. She whispers that his fate is in his own hands, and she can't wait to see how his legend unfolds. Somewhere else, a red-haired girl is on her knees, desperately begging for someone to save her dying sister. A grizzled miner looks at her with pure pity, telling her that what she's asking for is a flat-out impossibility. She crumbles in total despair, crying out for a chance to risk her life in the lethal mines just to save her family. Tears stream down her face as she gazes at the moon, begging for a hero to save them all. A vibrant title page flashes on screen, showing Ryuichi and his future crew feasting and laughing. Deep in the woods, Gaido puts his back into a massive swing, bringing a colossal tree to its knees. With total composure, he warns a paralyzed Ryoichi to watch out as the timber starts to tumble. The massive trunk screams through the air, hurtling toward the earth with a deafening boom. Gaido hammers his fist into the dirt, detonating a shockwave that rattles the very earth. Ryuichi and the other apprentice can only gape in pure shock at this insane show of strength. Suddenly, a jagged stone wall bursts from the ground, catching the falling tree in its tracks. Ryoichi's eyes light up as he begs his master to teach him the secrets of this god-tier magic. Perjado takes a slow drag from his pipe, reminding the kid that he's a simple craftsman, not a wizard. He points Ryoichi toward a local bookstore to hunt down a powerful magic tome. Inside, a cat-eared shopkeeper reveals that dark magic grimoires are legendary and nearly impossible to find. After a long, exhausting day, Ryoichi finally retreats to his cozy inn, tucked away in the forest. Mary, the energetic young innkeeper, greets him with a massive, heartwarming smile. Her eyes instantly light up with pure hype when she sees the magic books he's lugging around. She practically begs for a demonstration, so he decides to fire off a simple beginner spell. He focuses every ounce of his will, drawing mana from the air to conjure a blast of wind. The spell explodes with way too much power, catching Mary off guard and sending her skirt flying. With a bucket slammed over his head, a dying of shame Ryoichi listens as Mary calls it a lucky accident. He locks in on the elemental charts, vowing to practice until he masters every single power. He finally masters the flames, manifesting a perfect sphere of fire right in his palm. His training hits overdrive as that insane 10 times growth rate starts showing its true, terrifying potential. He unleashes a flurry of strikes, his fists glowing with raw, crackling magical power. A pack of bloodthirsty wolves that used to be a nightmare are now nothing more than target practice. He obliterates one of the beasts with a single, devastating blow infused with pure magic. While sprinting through the brush, he stumbles upon a hidden stone path swallowed by the forest. His eyes widen as he spots massive, ancient ruins choked by centuries of thick vines. He steps inside to find a colossal chamber guarded by 2 massive, intimidating statues in full armor. He puts his back into it, forcing a massive stone door to groan and grind open. Right in the center of the room sits a giant stone tablet etched with mysterious, ancient symbols. He deciphers the ancient carvings, realizing this chamber was once a high-tech testing ground for legendary magic armor. The ruins look thousands of years old, and he figures scavengers have already stripped the place of anything valuable. Suddenly, a rhythmic tapping sound echoes through the silence, snapping him out of his thoughts. He scans the eerie room, desperate to find exactly where that mysterious noise is coming from. His heart jumps as he realizes the sound is vibrating from directly beneath his feet. He heaves a massive stone slab aside, revealing a dark, gaping cavern hidden under the floor. Down there, a tangled web of massive cables crackles with faint, flickering sparks of energy. He drops to his knees, wondering if his modern-day knowledge is enough to jumpstart this ancient machinery. He reaches into his item box and summons a portable generator, a powerful relic from his previous life. As the power surges back, the colossal magic armor golem jolts to life, its eyes burning with a menacing glow. The golem towers over everything, its massive frame suffocating the entire room. Ryuichi stares up, paralyzed with fear as this mechanical nightmare springs back to life. In a blur of motion, the beast swings its colossal blade, obliterating the stone floor beneath it. Panic surges through him as he realizes the golem is standing right in front of his only escape. Cornered like prey, he desperately fires off a relentless storm of fireballs. The massive explosions slam right into the golem's armored chest with a deafening blast. A heavy thud echoes as the monster marches straight through the smoke without flinching. It walks out of the inferno without a single scratch on its indestructible metal skin. Ryuichi's jaw drops in pure horror. His strongest magic didn't even leave a dent. Desperate, he lunges forward and clings onto the golem's massive stone arm for a final strike. In a flash, the golem's massive hand snatches him right out of the air. Terror strikes as he realizes his physical attacks are completely useless against that impenetrable armor. The golem squeezes with bone-crushing power, snapping his ribs like dry twigs. His mangled body is tossed onto the freezing stone floor as the titan looms over him like a god of death. As the world goes dark, he braces himself for the cold embrace of his second death. But wait, 5 identical clones of Ryuichi suddenly burst onto the scene using his god-tier body division. These clones obey his every whim, but they'll vanish instantly if their life force is drained. The clones quickly analyze the nightmare, realizing that neither magic nor brute force can dent this beast. One clone triggers divine appraisal to check his stats before making a desperate move. Another clone begins a dark incantation, summoning a terrifying abyssal power to the battlefield. His eyes flare with a deadly resolve as he readies the terrifying abyss darkness spell. A flood of shadows and screaming ghost skulls explodes from the magic circle beneath him. This spiraling vortex of pure void condenses and slams straight into the golem. The golem lets out a metallic groan as that wicked pressure starts ripping its armor apart. The ancient machine finally shatters under the overwhelming force, crumbling into a pile of junk. Once the dust settles, a holographic girl suddenly flickers into existence. This AI reveals she's a high-tech creation from the Sanctica Magic Tool Company. She cheerfully thanks Ryoichi for his purchase and kicks off the startup sequence. Ryoichi is absolutely trashed from the battle and can only let out a confused moan. He manages to ask for a general setup, and the AI starts tailoring the entire system just for him. Suddenly, the entire chamber erupts with a shocking development that catches Ryoichi completely off guard. Every dormant magic armor in the facility powers down at once, acknowledging him as their supreme master. Noticing his deathly pale face and horrific wounds, the AI Paria desperately asks if her master can even hold on. He gasps out the grim truth. The dark magic he unleashed is a curse that's currently eating him alive. Paria remains perfectly calm, declaring she's analyzed his skills and is activating one on his behalf. Ryoichi's eyes widen in pure shock as he wonders what kind of miracle she's about to pull off. This is God-tier adaptation, a broken ability that instantly deletes every single negative status effect. A quick flashback reveals Kamishiro watching intently while Ryoichi handpicked his legendary powers. It clicks. This was the very last skill he chose, and he's stunned that the AI can actually control it. Paria lets out a faint, mysterious smile and asks her master if there's anything else he desires. Ryoichi turns to the AI, Paria, demanding to know what other secrets are buried in this hidden base. Paria reveals a shocking discovery. 16 massive suits of magic armor are waiting in the storage bay. Ryoichi's mind flashes back to that mysterious stone at the entrance. The words magic armor were carved right into it. These war machines are prepped for battle, but Paria admits they've been gathering dust for thousands of years. Their original mission? Completely erased and swallowed by the passage of time. Since she just woke up, the AI can only apologize for the massive gaps in her memory banks. Ryoichi wonders if she felt the sting of loneliness, but that's a human emotion she just can't compute. He flashes a warm smile, telling her it's perfectly okay if she doesn't get what it means to be alone. As he heads out, Paria locks her sensors onto him, vowing to wait for the moment he returns. Suddenly, Ryoichi bursts out of the tree line, commanding a colossal, multi-legged mechanical beast. Jido and the guild members are absolutely floored to see him standing with that legendary machine. Ryoichi shouts from the cockpit, explaining that the ancient beast is still far too damaged to move. He reveals that he's already tracked down the operation manual and the rare parts needed for the job. His guildmates are totally stumped, unable to make sense of the cryptic, ancient script in the manual. Jido declares that since he's the one who found it, this massive war machine is officially his. But then he questions Ryoichi, wondering if he can actually repair something so impossibly advanced. Ryoichi just grins, recalling how he and his father used to bond over fixing complex machinery. He fires up his tools, sending a violent shower of sparks exploding into the air as he gets to work. A voice shrieks in pure amazement at the breathtaking sight of the colossal golem. Mary and the sharp-eyed, glasses-wearing Nasal have just arrived to see the chaos for themselves. Perched high atop his massive mech, Ryoichi looks down and asks Mary what on earth she's doing at the guild. NASA steps forward to explain that Mary was actually worried sick when he never showed up back home. Jido lets out a laugh, revealing that Ryoichi has been spending every waking moment obsessed with this machine. Mary's face turns bright red as she frantically denies it, totally flustered by the call-out. She finally drops the real news. They're here to invite the entire guild on an epic journey to the dwarven village. Ryoichi pauses his work and stares down in shock, completely blindsided by the sudden invitation. NASA lays out the plan. She wants to hire these legendary craftsmen to serve as elite guards for her caravan. Jido jumps at the chance, since they already had a delivery heading straight for the branch anyway. 4 days later, the massive caravan finally rolls out, plunging deep into the heart of the thick, dark woods. Ryoichi looks around and realizes this dangerous trek feels just like an old-school camping trip from back in the day. The guild guys are busy hitting on the girls while dropping warnings about the deadly monsters lurking nearby. Jito's face turns to stone the second he feels a chilling presence waiting for them up ahead. Suddenly, a swarm of hideous forest beasts bursts from the shadows and cuts off their only path. Jito bellows at the top of his lungs for everyone to draw their steel and get ready for a bloodbath. He commands the mages and archers to fall back and rain down hell from the rear. Mary refuses to back down, gripping her trusty frying pan like it's a legendary blade. A beast lunges from the thicket straight at her, sending her into a panicked scream. Ryuichi dives in front of her and shreds the monster to pieces with his massive power drill. He barks at a relieved Mary to get behind the front lines where it's safe. Staring down the endless tide of monsters, he realizes they're completely outnumbered. Raw energy crackles in his palm as he readies a devastating spell. He blasts a jagged web of lightning that chains through the monsters, paralyzing them instantly. The beasts fry in a flash of high-voltage death as he scoffs at how easy this was. His teammates stand frozen in disbelief, wondering if he's been a master mage this entire time. He just grins, telling them his stats must have skyrocketed after crushing that golem. Refusing to be overshadowed, Jito steps up to show off his own crushing earth magic. He hammers his fists into the dirt, tearing a massive abyss right under the monster's feet. As night falls, the crew kicks back around a glowing campfire with their gear stacked high. Jito can't stop raving about Ryuichi's item box, calling it the ultimate tool for war and survival. Ryuichi offers to cook, boasting that their fresh ingredients are perfect for a massive feast. Their basic rations are nothing but rock-hard bread, salty cured meat, cheese, and plain greens. Ryuichi can barely stomach it. The bread is like a brick and the meat is a total salt bomb. Suddenly, a spark of genius hits him as he stares down those boring ingredients. He springs into action, slicing the bread and meat before grating that cheese into a fine pile. Then, he reaches into his magical item box and whips out a bottle of Caesar dressing. With a confident grin, he declares that the ultimate Caesar salad is served. Mary and Nassal stare at their bowls, completely fascinated by this bizarre new creation. Nassal takes a massive bite, her face locking into a look of intense concentration. The girls' eyes instantly pop with joy as they scream about how incredible it tastes. Jito shovels his portion down, shocked that even a vegetable hater like him is obsessed. The entire party swarms Ryuichi, desperately begging him to sell them a bottle of that heavenly dressing. Mary grips her bottle like a treasure, vowing to savor every single drop. NASA wonders if he can really sell that much, but Ryuichi reveals his breeding box can churn out an infinite supply. Nassal adjusts her glasses, her eyes sparkling as she senses a massive gold mine. After a restful night under the stars, the caravan charges forward toward their final destination. They finally reach the massive, towering stone walls of the great dwarven city. Ryuichi is blown away by the perfectly paved cobblestone streets winding through the city. Mary beams with excitement, announcing that her uncle runs a cozy inn right inside the walls. Jito tells the crew to get settled while he and Ryuichi head off to deliver the lumber. They hit up the local guild branch to hand over the shipment to the formidable dwarven guildmaster. The dwarf scans the order and asks if they can possibly pump out even more timber. Jito beams with pride, realizing the city's economy is absolutely exploding. The dwarf reveals a massive new magic vein was just found, sending the demand for wood through the roof. The guild hall is packed to the rafters with raw lumber and exquisite wind furniture. Jito lets out a laugh, knowing Ryuichi's insane item box finished the delivery in a heartbeat. With the deal closed, Jito tells the crew to head out and enjoy some well-earned freedom. The apprentices are already hyped, plotting their moves to ask Mary and Nassalot out on dates. Ryuichi strikes out on his own, checking his legendary all-purpose map to navigate the streets. Realizing how massive this city is, he makes a beeline straight for the Adventurers Guild. He finally pulls up to the local guild, and the building is absolutely breathtaking. The guildmaster stands stunned, buried under a mountain of monster loot Ryuichi just hauled in. He inspects the materials and realizes they're from a legendary high-tier golem. Ryuichi admits he's just a rookie, leaving the shocked master desperate to sponsor his membership. He finally secures his official adventurer's card, a perfect new piece of identification. He heads out of the guild, determined to investigate the mysterious magic mine he's been hearing about. At the site, he spots a young girl begging the miners for work, but they cruelly brush her off. The red-haired girl pleads with everything she has, screaming that she'll do any job they give her. Ryuichi pulls a shopkeeper aside, asking what on earth is happening to this distraught girl. The woman explains that the girl's father died in a mine collapse, leaving her with a crushing debt. If she doesn't pay it all back by tomorrow, she'll be dragged away and sold into slavery. Ryuichi is absolutely stunned, desperate to find any way to save such a helpless child. She's buried under a massive debt of 250 gold coins, a fortune that's impossible to earn from backbreaking mining. To make matters worse, She's frantically trying to fund her sick little sister's life-saving medical care. In a cruel twist of fate, the very mine collapse that claimed her father's life was tied to the new Irvane. Only official members of the Stoneworkers Guild are even allowed to touch that precious ore. The shopkeeper sighs, knowing the poor girl simply doesn't have the raw strength to survive the job. Ryuichi listens to the devastating tale, his face hardening as the weight of her tragedy sinks in. As the sun dips below the horizon, the girl collapses into the dirt, her spirit completely broken and hopeless. She breaks down in tears, begging her sister Moa and her late father to forgive her for failing them. Suddenly, Ryuichi steps toward her, brandishing a fresh guild card and demanding she follow him. Mia stares in total shock as Ryuichi boldly proclaims that he's the one who's going to protect her now. They reach the entrance of the 6th mine, where a guard demands to see their guild credentials. The foreman spots Ryuichi's fresh face and immediately questions who the young girl by his side is. Standing right next to Ryuichi, Mia offers a humble, respectful bow to the man in charge. The foreman's eyes widen as he recognizes Mia, stunned that anyone would actually bring her to such a place. With tears in her eyes, Mia confesses that she'd be completely hopeless if Ryuichi hadn't stepped in to save her. The foreman's face falls as he listens, fully realizing just how desperate her situation has become. He offers his deepest sympathies for her late father, her sick sister, and the tragedy that struck her family. He drops a heavy warning. This mine is a total death trap, not some shortcut to easy gold. Inside, the tunnels are pitch black and held up by nothing but rotting, shaky support beams. The foreman warns that the place is crawling with hot-blooded thugs brawling for gold. He tosses Mia a crude, hand-drawn sketch of the mine's twisting tunnels. Mia stares at the mess in despair, realizing there's no way they can pull this off alone. Ryuichi nods, knowing that finding their target in this non-stop war zone will be a nightmare. He pulls out his magical all-purpose map, revealing a crystal-clear path through the darkness. Mia's jaw drops as she gasps, "Wait, you actually have a legendary all-purpose map?" She leans in, her eyes widening as she realizes the map is actually alive and moving. Ryuichi explains that it tracks them in real time, pinpointing their exact location with flawless precision. A spark of genius ignites in Mia's eyes as she realizes just how powerful this tool really is. She drops to the jagged ground and whips out her book, ready to get to work. Clutching Ryuichi's map, she begins frantically carving symbols into the dirt. She thrusts her father's journal forward, declaring it holds the key to all his life's work. She masterfully fuses the map's live data with her father's deep geological notes. Finally, her massive complex web of runes and geometry is complete. She points to the map with a triumphant shout. She's pinpointed the Great Vein's exact location. Ryuichi is absolutely stunned, praising her for her incredible genius-level intellect. But Mia's excitement instantly turns to pure dread as she realizes reaching it is impossible. She explains that it's in a completely different direction, requiring a brand new tunnel. With no equipment and only the two of them, she feels her hope slipping away. Her eyes snap toward Ryuichi, her last prayer hanging on that one word, tools. She looks at him skeptically, asking if he even bothered to bring a pickaxe for the job. With a flashy flick of his wrist, Ryuichi pulls a brand new pickaxe straight out of his item box. He gives her a confident smirk, explaining that his entire arsenal is tucked away in his dimensional storage. But then he tosses it aside, declaring that manual labor is way too slow for his taste. Suddenly, he summons his colossal magic armor, and it slams into the ground with a bone-shaking thud. He flashes Mia a daring grin and tells her to climb in and hold on for dear life. Mia stares up at the mechanical beast, nervously asking if she's actually supposed to ride inside that thing. Now strapped into the pilot's seat, Ryuichi declares that it's finally time to start digging. The magic armor's massive engines roar to life, vibrating with pure mechanical power. Mia lets out a thrill-seeking scream, clinging to Ryuichi's back as the machine surges forward. Those massive drill arms scream as they shred right through the solid rock. It carves out a brand new path, sending massive boulders flying everywhere. Mia screams in total shock, desperate to know what's happening as the mech vibrates violently. This magic armor rips through the heart of the mountain, leaving a perfectly smooth tunnel behind. Ryuichi is blown away that this beast can dig and reinforce the walls at the exact same time. He whips out a box of sister donuts and a pile of treats for a much-needed snack break. Mia's eyes go wide as she asks what it is, completely captivated by that heavenly sweet aroma. He explains that these are donuts, the ultimate fried treat from his own world. Mia takes a huge bite, savoring every second as she gulps down the sugary goodness. Her face turns bright red as she stammers that she isn't even hungry, desperately trying to hide her embarrassment. But her body betrays her instantly as her stomach lets out a massive, hungry roar. Ryuichi offers her a different snack, but she shuts him down, That's not the issue at all. She's paralyzed by guilt, feeling like a monster for eating while her sister Moa is deathly ill. Memories of her father's sacrifice flood back, remembering how he starved himself just to keep them alive. Crushed by the weight of her own shame, she hangs her head, unable to enjoy even a single bite. Ryuichi finally realizes the truth. She refuses to let herself feel even a moment of happiness. Suddenly, the magic armor's massive drill screeches to a violent halt against the solid rock. The entire machine goes limp, its arms slumping as Ryuichi panics, wondering what went wrong. A terrifying hiss fills the cockpit as the power completely drains away into nothingness. Ryuichi white-knuckles the control stick, but it's useless. The mech is now nothing more than a metal coffin. His gaze locks onto a mysterious glowing gauge flickering on the control panel. Horror strikes as he realizes it's the fuel meter, and the needle is bone dry. He shouts the grim reality. They're out of fuel and abandoned in the crushing darkness. The massive machine falls silent, leaving them trapped in the bowels of the earth. Mia loses it, blaming her own reckless suggestions for getting them stuck in this nightmare. She sobs uncontrollably, convinced that she brings nothing but misery to everyone she meets. Her eyes overflow with tears as she thinks of Moa, her father, and now Ryuichi's doomed fate. Ryuichi remains unshaken, turning to Mia to ask why she's shouldering all this guilt. Suddenly, the magic armor's engines scream back to life with a deafening, powerful hum. The cockpit erupts in light, jolting them both out of their hopeless despair. Mia lets out a gasp of pure shock as the massive machine suddenly roars back to life. Cloaked in a swirling aura of mana, Ryuichi declares that this mech's true heart is magic. He floods the controls with his own spirit, sending the Titan charging back into the fray. Suddenly, we're at the flashy, gold-trimmed entrance of the local moneylender's office. The greedy, portly man sneers at Mia, telling her that no amount of begging will save her now. He barks that her massive debt of 250 gold is due by sunrise, with absolutely no extensions. Still wearing her dusty hard hat, Mia slams down a mountain of shimmering gold coins right in front of him. The moneylender's jaw hits the floor as he screams, demanding to know where she found such a fortune. Mia proudly explains that Mr. Ishikawa led her deep into the mines to harvest that legendary magic ore. The stunned man glares at Ryuichi, asking if he's really the one who pulled off this miracle. He's seen countless souls crushed by divine wrath in his line of work. It seemed like Mia was destined to rot away in a cold, heartless prison cell forever. He's overwhelmed with gratitude that a saint like Ryuichi actually exists in this cruel world. Ryuichi hands over every last coin, demanding Mia use it to start her life over. Mia breaks down in tears, sobbing that his heart is just too pure for this world. She weeps with pure joy, finally realizing that she and Moa are truly free at last. Beneath the pitch-black sky, Mia guides Ryuichi toward her humble little home. She welcomes him into their stone cottage, frantically apologizing for the mess. But as Ryuichi steps inside, he sees the place is spotless, yet completely hollow and bare. With a heartbreaking smile, Mia admits they had to sell every single thing they owned just to survive. Everything from her father's massive library to their most precious family heirlooms was finally recovered. Mia creeps toward the door until a faint, ghostly voice from within asks who's there. Clutching a flickering candle, Mia steps inside and softly begs her sister Moa to wake up. She introduces Ryuichi, explaining that their crushing debt has been wiped away forever because of him. From her deathbed, Moa whispers in pure disbelief, asking if the nightmare is truly over. She gazes at her sister, her eyes wide with a fragile, heart-wrenching glimmer of hope. Ryuichi's gaze sharpens as he senses a terrifying, dark aura bleeding out from the sick child. The Grim Reaper itself looms over the sisters while Mia desperately cradles her dying sibling. Moa's body begins to dissolve into light, whispering that they can finally be together in peace. Holding what's left of her sister, Mia tells Ryuichi that this freedom is all thanks to him. Little Moa offers a weak, fading smile as she whispers her gratitude to Ryuichi. Ryuichi turns to the fragile child and asks for permission to try his recovery magic. He channels his energy, manifesting a shimmering ring of pure water magic. With a determined shout, he blasts her with his powerful heal water spell. The magic sizzles and evaporates instantly, leaving the girl completely unchanged. Ryuichi stands frozen in shock, unable to believe his healing spell was totally nullified. His mind races as he desperately searches for any kind of detoxification magic that might save her. Mia softly tells him it's all right, explaining they only wanted to show their gratitude. She reveals that even the most expensive royal medicines only made her suffering worse. Realizing this is no ordinary disease, Ryuichi activates his legendary divine appraisal. The skill uncovers a nightmare. Moa is being eaten alive by a high-level curse. Ryuichi freezes, his eyes bulging as the terrifying reality sinks in. A flash of recognition strikes, This is the exact same curse he caught from that golem. He whips out his grimoire, frantically praying for a way to break this dark magic. But the pages are a nightmare, covered in twisted diagrams of pure evil. He scours every word, hunting for any secret that could lift this death sentence. Rage boils over as he realizes the book only teaches how to inflict pain, not stop it. He looks Moa in the eye and tells her there's one final desperate gamble he can take. The black energy rips out of Moa and slams into Ryuichi with bone-shattering force. He's instantly crushed by the agonizing torture this poor girl has been suffering through. The curse crushes him, his limbs turning to lead as the world goes dark. Suddenly, he remembers the godlike power he was granted when he first arrived. He triggers God-tier adaptation, exploding with a blinding golden radiance. Gomiya sprints to his side, desperately checking if he survived that insane struggle. The curse has vanished, leaving Moa resting peacefully in her bed at last. Ryoichi and Mia breathe a massive sigh of relief now that the darkness is finally gone. It hits him. With the curse broken, his healing magic will finally work. Ryuichi unleashes heal water on Moa once again, pouring everything he has into it. A soft, shimmering glow wraps around the girl, mending her broken body. Moa's eyes finally flutter open as she drifts back into the world of the living. She's hit with a wave of shock as the agonizing pain and burning fever vanish instantly. Fueled by a sudden surge of power, she leaps out of bed like she's never been sick. She cheers to her sister that her body feels incredibly light and full of life. Mia stares in total shock, barely able to ask if this miracle is actually real. Moa flashes a radiant, glowing smile, confirming she's back to 100%. The weight of the world lifts off Mia's shoulders as tears of pure relief flood her eyes. The sisters collapse into a desperate, tearful hug, finally reunited in health. Mia pours her heart out to Ryoichi, begging to know how she can ever repay him. He just shoots her a smooth wink, saying he's just happy to see her standing. But then, a massive roar from Ryuichi's stomach comically kills the mood. Seeing everyone finally winding down, he decides it's time to whip up a legendary feast. The girl's jaws hit the floor as he literally spawns fresh ingredients out of thin air. He jumps into action using high-tech cooking gear that looks like it's from the future. He reveals that this was the special comfort meal his father always cooked for him when he was sick. A violent sizzle erupts and a heavenly aroma instantly floods every corner of the home. With total confidence, he announces that his all-time favorite meatball udon is finally served. The sisters are completely hypnotized by the strange-looking dish and its intoxicating scent. Moa starts vacuuming up the noodles like a beast, making Mia panic that she's going way too fast. Moho brushes her off, insisting she's perfectly fine and desperate for another serving. Mia finally takes her first bite and her entire world is rocked by an explosion of flavor. The sisters absolutely demolish the meal, screaming about how insanely delicious it is. They feel terrible for polishing off the entire pot, but Ryoichi doesn't care one bit. He reaches for his sister's donut box and offers the girls a sugary surprise. Mia's eyes light up. She remembers this exact donut from their time in the mines. She takes a massive, joyful bite of the soft, fluffy pastry. Moa can't resist and begs her sister to let her have a donut too. But as they feast, tears suddenly start flooding down Mia's face. She looks up and asks Ryoichi why he's being so unbelievably kind to them. Ryoichi's expression turns stone-cold serious as he thinks of the perfect answer. He explains that back in his world, protecting children is just the right thing to do. He finally breaks, confessing he's been burning with envy because he has no family to call his own. This heartbreaking admission hits the sisters like a ton of bricks, leaving them absolutely stunned. Mia immediately panics and apologizes, feeling terrible for how brutally blunt Moa was about his tragic life. But hearing about his crushing loneliness sparks a brilliant, wild idea in Moa's head. Without missing a beat, she boldly declares that she'll marry him just so he won't be alone anymore. Mia is absolutely mortified, screaming at her little sister that she's only 7 years old. Moa fires back instantly, suggesting that since Mia is 12, she should be the one to marry him instead. She suddenly lunges at Ryoichi with a huge grin, deciding right then and there to be his new little sister. A completely flustered Mia can't stop lecturing her sister for being so incredibly shameless and forward. Ryoichi just beams, gently patting Moa's head as he happily welcomes his adorable new sister into his life. As darkness blankets the world, he decides it's finally time to head back to the inn. He steps out into the chilling moonlight, ready to make his way home. Suddenly, a voice pierces the silence, begging him to wait up. Mia rushes over, desperately asking if he plans on sticking around town. He breaks the news that he's heading back to Ios village in just a few days. Moa lunges forward and clings to him, sobbing that she can't bear to see him go. Through her tears, she begs to go along with the man she now calls her brother. Ryuichi is completely caught off guard while Mia frantically apologizes for her sister's outburst. But then, with misty eyes, Mia confesses that she doesn't want him to leave either. Ryuichi realizes right then that leaving these two without a protector would be a death sentence. He realizes that shielding these girls is the true reason he was reborn into this world. He gazes down at the pair, his face hardening with a brand new sense of duty. The sisters stare back with tearful eyes, begging him not to tear them apart. Ryoichi's eyes flash with conviction as he reaches his ultimate choice. He gives them a huge smile and shouts that from this day on, they're officially a family. Dawn breaks, casting a golden glow over the entire kingdom. Back at the guild, two of Ryoichi's comrades are looking around, wondering where the heck he went. They're fuming, annoyed that he ditched the party and is dragging his feet. Meanwhile, their master Guido is completely wasted, face down on the floor in a drunken stupor. Suddenly, Ryoichi walks in and tells everyone to get ready for a massive introduction. Mia and Moa bashfully announce that they're officially part of Ryoichi's family. The entire guild is left speechless, their jaws hitting the floor at the shocking news. One guy lunges at Ryuichi, desperate to know where these stunning girls came from. The sisters reveal the heartbreaking truth. Ryoichi took them in after they lost their father. The craftsmen are reeling, unable to wrap their heads around him suddenly becoming a big brother. At last, the reality of the situation finally starts to sink in for one of them. But now they have to deal with the cold, hard reality of taxes and legal custody. The whole group rushes to the magistrate's hall to make the adoption official. A clerk drops a bombshell, revealing the family is buried under a mountain of unpaid taxes. Without blinking, Ryuichi wipes the debt clean with a massive shimmering pile of pure gold. Moa points ahead in total shock, screaming that their adoption is finally official. Ryuichi reveals the truth. They're legally recognized now that years of back taxes are finally paid off. He looks Mia in the eye and tells her this fortune is hers, all thanks to the rare magic ore her father discovered. Mia gazes down, her heart swelling with emotion at the mention of her late father. Ryuichi comforts the stunned Mia, promising her that she's family now and never has to worry again. Mia turns bright red and calls him Big Brother, while Moa winks, thrilled to finally have a sister. Suddenly, a voice screams from across the way, accusing Ryoichi of being on a secret date. It's Mary, pointing a finger dramatically while Nassel smirks, smelling a juicy scandal. Ryoichi whips around, completely blindsided to see his old friends from IS standing there. He stammers through a clumsy explanation that this isn't a date as Mary closes in on him. Mary drops to her knees with a warm smile, mentioning she'd heard the rumors about him adopting two orphaned sisters. Mia shyly steps up to introduce herself, but her little sister Moa steals the show with a high-energy greeting. Mary and Nassel are completely frozen, paralyzed by the pure, heart-melting cuteness of these girls. They immediately start doting on the pair, obsessing over their precious faces and gorgeous hair. Nassel notices their ragged, worn-out clothes and decides right then and there, it's time for a massive shopping spree. Shimea gets a total makeover with a rugged tunic and shorts, perfect for a life of adventure. Meanwhile, the bubbly Moa gets a frilly, adorable dress that matches her bright personality perfectly. Ryoichi is buried under a mountain of shopping bags, but Nassel is already planning their next stop for accessories. Moa's eyes light up as she points toward a building, shouting with joy that they've found a bookstore. She looks up at her new big brother with pleading eyes, begging him to take her inside to see the picture books. A bubbly beastkin shopkeeper greets them with a huge smile, promising a sweet discount for guild members. Ryuichi checks if they have a shop in IAS, and she beams with a big yes. He hunts for powerful magic tomes while little Moa scours the bottom shelves for treasure. Moa gasps as her eyes lock onto a mysterious glowing book. Ryuichi snags a rare tome tucked away in a corner that no ordinary adult would ever notice. Moa shows off her prize, a high-level grimoire packed with devastating lightning magic. The little girl radiates pure joy, tightly hugging the colorful picture book she picked out all by herself. Ryuichi hoists Moa onto his shoulders as she thrusts her new book into the air like a trophy. Mary and Nasa watch the duo, whispering about how Ryuichi is already the perfect big brother. By the next morning, Ryuichi is already hard at work, scaling the sisters' stone house to patch up the roof. Armed with a pneumatic nail gun from Earth, he hammers away at the roof with superhuman speed. He wipes the sweat from his brow, grinning as the girls cheer for their newly fixed home. Later that night, Moa rushes up with her favorite book, begging him for a bedtime story. The tale follows a legendary hero from another world on a quest to save a captive elven princess. Ryuichi starts reading, finding it hilarious to be reciting a fairy tale while living in a real-life fantasy. In a wild twist, the hero uses a magic tool, a literal chainsaw, to rip through the princess's chains. Ryuichi freezes in shock, instantly recognizing the tool and questioning if this legend is actually a true story. Mia drops a bombshell, confirming that every single word of that crazy story is 100% true. She reveals that the hero founded a massive city-state called Centris, constructed around a colossal world tree. Ryuichi's mind races as he realizes he isn't alone. There are other people from Earth in this world. The tale concludes with the hero and princess getting married and living out their perfect fairy tale. He suddenly realizes he's got to sprint back before his master's temper explodes. Looking down, he sees Mia and Moa fast asleep, huddled close against him. The next chapter's cover reveals Ryuichi and Jito squaring off against the monstrous Shout Bear King. Ryuichi finally makes it back to the inn, begging for forgiveness for his massive delay. Jito sits there in chilling silence, his face dark as he takes a massive gulp of his drink. He crashes his mug onto the table, demanding to know why Ryuichi was out the entire night. Ryuichi is totally rattled, stuttering his master's name as he tries to find his words. Mia steps forward with a trembling voice, confessing to Jito that they are the ones to blame. The sisters offer a sincere apology, explaining that their deep sleep kept him from leaving. Jito spins around in total shock, demanding to know who these two little girls are. The guild members quickly explain that Ryuichi has officially adopted them as his very own sisters. Jito grunts, realizing that if they're his apprentice's kin, he's got no choice but to take them in. His fury vanishes in an instant, replaced by tears of joy as he welcomes them as his new granddaughters. Jito pulls a ridiculous, goofy face, sending Moa into a fit of hysterical laughter. His apprentices watch the scene, stunned by how quickly he's turned into a doting, overprotective uncle. Outside the inn, Mary asks if the girls are finally heading back to IAS with the rest of the group. Moa beams with excitement, announcing that they're actually hitting the road on a journey with Ryuichi. Mary and Nasal are completely blindsided by this sudden, shocking news. Jito overhears the conversation and whips around in disbelief, asking if Ryuichi is really leaving them. He corners his apprentice, demanding to know if he's actually abandoning the guild for good. Ryuichi stands his ground, explaining his burning desire to explore the world and uncover its secrets. Jito remains dead silent, his face hardening as his jaw clenches in pure frustration. He snaps at Ryuichi, accusing him of being an arrogant brat and admitting how much he's let him down. Jito turns his back and storms off, coldly telling him to do whatever he wants. Ryuichi watches his master leave, whispering a quiet apology for the painful misunderstanding. He drops to one knee to comfort a trembling Moa, promising her that she's done nothing wrong. With worry in her eyes, Mia asks if he's really planning to leave them all behind tomorrow. She begs him to make things right with Jito before he disappears forever. As his sisters walk away, Ryuichi is hit with the crushing realization of how much he's hurt them. A fellow apprentice steps in to calm him down, explaining that Jito is just feeling lonely. When night falls, the entire guild demands a massive, rowdy farewell bash for Ryuichi. Scanning the crowded tavern, Ryuichi realizes his master, Jito, is still nowhere to be found. One of the apprentices jokes that Jito is probably just pouting and will show his face eventually. He then slides a mysterious cloth bundle toward Ryuichi, a secret gift sent directly from his master. Ryuichi tears the wrapping away to reveal a stunning, masterfully crafted dwarven battle axe. Jito had this beast specially commissioned and imbued with the incredible Oriuchi Help Mind enchantment. A grin spreads across Ryuichi's face, truly touched by his master's gruff but heartfelt parting gift. At the crack of dawn, the caravan readies itself to march out through the towering city gates. Mary leads a high-energy send-off as the group finally kicks off their journey back to IS Village. Jito and his guild march forward with grim determination, tightening their gear for the journey ahead. The sisters are buzzing with pure excitement, dying to see what secrets IS Village is hiding. Mia glances back with a worried look, asking Ryuichi if that massive cart is finally wearing him down. He flashes a confident grin, insisting the load is light and that Moa desperately needs the recovery time. Mia beams with joy, shouting that riding in the cart feels just like being protected by legendary magic armor. Then, her voice softens as she asks if he finally managed to settle things with his friend Jito. Ryuichi wears a bittersweet smile, confessing that he never actually got the chance to make amends. Miles away, Jito grumbles in frustration, hating himself for not having the guts to just thank Ryuichi. Suddenly, a swarm of twisted, bloodthirsty monsters erupts from the shadows to block their path. Ryuichi braces himself, ready to unleash his devastating new lightning magic to vaporize the entire horde at once. Gaido lunges forward as a blinding divine aura erupts from his body. His eyes burn like twin suns as he channels his overwhelming energy. He slams his heel down, striking the earth with a world-shaking thud. The terrain beneath the monsters instantly shatters into a million pieces. With a roar, he tears open a massive chasm that swallows every single monster whole. From the cart, Ryuichi and the girls watch in total shock, paralyzed by his sheer, raw power. The other apprentices whisper that their master's foul mood is actually a massive win for them. As the sun dips below the horizon, the group finally discovers the perfect clearing to hunker down. Jito spots an old fire pit and decides this is the ultimate spot to set up camp. The guild members spring into action, pitching tents and prepping for the long night ahead. Ryuichi rushes over to his sisters, finding them frozen as they stare intensely at the earth beneath their feet. He demands to know what's wrong, and Moa immediately cries out for her big brother's help. Moa explains that Mia is completely shaken up by something she just discovered. Mia points toward massive, unnatural craters in the dirt that look exactly like giant monster footprints. Ryuichi drops to his knees, realizing these tracks are far too massive for any ordinary beast. He hunts down his master, Jito, desperate for answers about this chilling discovery. Jito cold shoulders him, snapping that they'll only talk once they've returned to the village. He turns his back on his student, coldly stating that he's just not in the mood to talk. Jito disappears into the brush, leaving a worried Ryuichi standing all alone in the dark woods. With no other options, Ryuichi realizes he has to take this mystery to the rest of the guild. One of the guys just scoffs at the warning, dead certain that their camp is completely untouchable. They try to laugh it off, teasing him to come back when he's finally a real man. Ryuichi backs down for now, but a cold sense of dread still gnaws at his gut. Darkness swallows the camp as a heavy, suffocating silence falls under the starlight. Inside her tent, Mia tosses and turns, trapped in a restless, haunting sleep. She bolts upright, her heart hammering against her ribs as pure terror grips her soul. Under the flickering glow of a lantern, she hunches over her mysterious magic map. A groggy Mary rubs her eyes, demanding to know why Mia is still wide awake. Mia whispers an apology, admitting a terrifying gut feeling forced her to check the map. She's horrified to see the map shifting, as a brand new path carves its way through the mountains. Panic grips her as she screams for everyone to wake up. Something massive is closing in. The camera zooms in on his face, frozen in a state of pure, unadulterated terror. The frantic, metallic clanging of pots and pans rips through the midnight air. Startled guild members scramble out of bed, shouting in a frenzy at the sudden alarm. Mary and Mia rush a guildsman, desperate to find Master Gaido's location. The man points toward Gaido's empty room. The master is nowhere to be found. Mia's heart sinks as she frantically asks where her brother Ryuichi has gone. She gets the chilling answer: Ryuichi is currently out on the night watch. Ryuichi stands his ground, obsessing over those strange footprints and hoping his fear is just a fluke. A sudden violent rustle in the brush puts him on high alert instantly. A majestic griffin explodes from the tree line, and Ryuichi realizes this is the nightmare they've been waiting for. Each massive flap of the beast's wings sends a whirlwind of leaves and feathers screaming through the air. High on a nearby ridge, Jito sits in total silence, drowning in his own dark thoughts. He takes a heavy swig from his flask, his face twisted in deep, agonizing worry. Moa sprints up the hill, her voice cracking as she screams his name in a total panic. She gasps out that a titan is descending upon them and the entire village is hunting for him. Jito barely flinches, coolly promising her that he'll be down to handle it in just a moment. Suddenly, the griffin's massive shadow blots out the sun, and Jito's eyes snap wide with pure shock. He throws Moa behind him for cover, barking at her to find a place to hide before it's too late. The griffin lets out a blood-curdling screech as it nosedives, baring its razor-sharp talons for the kill. Gaido digs his heels in, bracing for the beast's incoming assault. Ryuichi bursts onto the scene, shouting a frantic warning to his master. Jito waves him off, commanding his apprentice to stay back. He flashes a smirk, treating the flying monster like a common insect. Claiming he's got this alone, he charges forward to meet the griffin. The beast screams in agony as Gaido's punch connects with massive force. Mangled and bleeding, the griffin retreats in a panic over the forest canopy. Gaido swears they'll hunt it down and end it once and for all. Out of nowhere, a bone-chilling roar erupts, shaking the entire forest. The air itself seems to vibrate with power under the light of the full moon. Jito stares into the abyss, his heart sinking as he realizes that roar came from the griffin's direction. His face instantly contorts into a mask of pure, unbridled terror. He screams at Ryuichi to grab Moa and get everyone the hell out of there. Ryuichi and Moa are paralyzed, desperately asking Jaito what he's even talking about. Ryuichi refuses to run, swearing he'll stand and fight right beside his master. Jaito roars with fury, branding him a complete fool for disobeying his orders. He barks that they need a diversion now, or they're all going to be slaughtered. Suddenly, a blood-soaked nightmare with glowing eyes tears through the trees. A colossal demonic bear emerges with the griffin's mangled corpse impaled on its back. The behemoth slams its foot down, making the entire clearing shake with every step. Ryuichi senses the overwhelming danger and instantly triggers his divine appraisal. The beast lets out a deafening roar as its stats flash. The Shout Bear King, a massive level 68. Horror strikes Jito as he recognizes the legendary Lord of the Mountains standing right before them. He reveals his secret fortune to Ryuichi, begging him to go out and see the world. He warns his apprentice never to let his world shrink into a chaotic mess. Jaito channels his mana, shouting at Ryuichi to focus solely on keeping his family safe. The Shout Bear King bellows as Jaito unleashes a devastating wave of earth magic. Jito slams his fists into the earth, erupting a massive stone wall to block the beast. He orders Ryuichi to run, swearing on his life to protect everyone as the head of the family. Moa screams in pure agony, desperately begging her uncle Jito to stay alive. Ryuichi grips her tight, reminding her that their master's orders are absolute. He takes off at a dead sprint, clutching his little sister as they flee the carnage. The world goes silent for a heartbeat under the heavy, swirling clouds of the night sky. The rest of the crew spots him and screams his name, completely blindsided by his retreat. Ryuichi skids to a halt, his face hardening into a mask of grim determination. He whips around to face them, demanding they shut up and listen to his plan. He reveals a set of modified magic armor, declaring that Mia is the only one who can pilot this beast. Mia scans the complex instructions, vowing to give this machine everything she's got. She cracks the ancient text in seconds, instantly mastering the machine's complex controls. The giant transport roars to life and tears across the land, carrying the villagers to safety. The guild members' jaws drop as they witness the machine's blinding speed. From inside the cockpit, Moa beams with pride, shouting about how incredible her big sister truly is. She shouts out Ryo's orders, telling everyone to dump every drop of their mana into the spare fuel tanks. Back at the clearing, Jito's face hardens as he watches the absolute chaos erupt before him. The Shout Bear King unhinges its massive jaws, charging up a devastating breath attack. It fires a massive wave of dark energy straight at the escaping transport. That beam of pure destruction tears through the forest like a hot knife through butter. Suddenly, Ryuichi's magic armor intercepts the blast, taking the full force of the explosion head-on. Ryuichi's mech holds its ground, smoke billowing from its frame after that brutal hit. He scans the beast, realizing with a shock that this king is a terrifying level 68. His status screen flickers to life, revealing a measly level 24, and he absolutely hates how weak he is. Gritting his teeth in fury, he snarls at the beast to crawl back into its cave and rot. The Shout Bear King looms over him like a nightmare, its terrifying stats laid bare for Ryuichi to see. Ryuichi prays that this massive mech is enough to give him a real fighting chance. Suddenly his eyes widen as he realizes something horrifying has changed. The king's stats skyrocket as its rage ability sends its attack power through the roof. The furious beast rears back, hoisting its colossal claws for a killing blow. It slams its arm down with bone-shattering force right against the magic armor. The bear's monstrous grip crushes the mech's metal arm like it's nothing but thin paper. The arm is ripped clean off, and the sheer impact sends Ryuichi spiraling out of control. The massive Shout Bear King lets out a deafening roar as it shreds through the magic armor like paper. Ryuichi stands frozen, paralyzed by the beast's sheer overwhelming power. Those titan-sized claws slam down, completely obliterating the mech's hull. He hits the debris hard, thanking his lucky stars for the axe his master gifted him. He remembers the split second he used that enchanted blade to deflect a killing blow. The axe soaked up the entire impact, saving him from being turned into a pancake. Look at that. The dwarven steel doesn't have a single scratch on it. Jito looks on with a smirk, impressed by his student's incredible craftsmanship. Ryoichi decides to swarm the monster with numbers to buy himself some time. He triggers his god-tier body division, summoning an army of clones to the battlefield. An entire army of Ryoichis dives off the mech and charges headfirst at the beast. The clones swarm the monster, relentlessly hacking away at its massive leathery hide. Jido rubs his eyes in total shock, unable to process the sight of a dozen apprentices. Ryoichi explains that these are just clones who'll vanish the second they're defeated. He screams for his master to use this distraction to escape and recover. Haito is hit with a wave of guilt, feeling pathetic that his own student has to save his life. To his surprise, he notices the magic armor's engine is still humming with life. The Shout Bear King opens its maw and unleashes a terrifying torrent of white-hot fire. Ryoichi and Jaito are absolutely stunned that these monsters can actually breathe flames. Ryoichi watches in horror as the monster lunges forward to finish them off. "Get down!" he screams, violently shoving his master out of the line of fire. A massive inferno vaporizes the last scraps of his enchanted armor. He realizes there's no escape. The only way out is to fight. He weighs the risk of unleashing his forbidden combo of clones and dark magic. With cold, hard resolve, he knows he's backed into a corner. The beastly bear lunges, baring its massive fangs with a terrifying snarl. Ryuichi holds his ground, desperately searching for one final winning move. A lethal claw strike rips through the clearing with bone-shattering force. The sheer impact sends Jido soaring through the air like a rag doll. He hacks up a mouthful of blood, his body broken by that devastating hit. Kamashiro's chilling warning echoes in Ryuichi's mind. Death is always just a heartbeat away. The beast staggers back, spewing a torrent of vile black energy from its gaping jaws. For a split second, it spins around, exposing its massive, shaggy back to the warriors. It whips back around, those haunting white eyes locking onto its next victim. Razor-sharp claws snatch Ryoichi's left arm, dragging it straight toward its gnashing teeth. A horrific crunch echoes through the air as his arm is brutally ripped from his shoulder. He detonates a surge of high-level lightning magic, paralyzing the monster where it stands. His eyes dart to his master, Jido, bleeding out and broken on the cold earth. Witnessing his mentor's agony, a terrifying, icy rage ignites within his soul. He bellows a death curse at the beast, unleashing every ounce of his forbidden dark magic. Guido groans in agony, clawing his way up through the choking smoke and debris. His eyes bulge in pure terror at the impossible sight unfolding before him. The Shout Bear King is being devoured by shadows, its massive body literally dissolving into nothingness. Guido is absolutely floored. The legendary mountain lord has finally been slaughtered. He gazes at Ryoichi, who stands like a silent reaper in the middle of the inferno. Ryoichi stands solitary, his axe hanging low and his entire left arm completely ripped off. Jido stumbles forward, trembling as he asks if Ryoichi was the one who ended the beast. Then he notices the mangled, bloody stump and shrieks, "What happened to your arm?" Ryoichi bluntly points to his original arm on the ground, revealing that this new one just regenerated. Guido is shaken to his core, demanding to know how a severed limb could ever just grow back. Ryuichi averts his gaze, drowning in shame over his bizarre and unsettling power. He desperately apologizes, mortified that his master had to witness such a grotesque, inhuman display. He admits how twisted it is for a severed limb to just sprout back into existence like it was nothing. Jido stands frozen in total silence, his mind spinning as he tries to process the impossible. He tightens his fist as his look of pure shock transforms into a massive wild grin. He throws his head back and erupts into a thunderous, soul-cleansing roar of laughter. He snatches Ryuichi's brand new hand, itching for an immediate arm-wrestling rematch. He takes back his blunt words, declaring that he doesn't give a damn what kind of monster Ryuichi might be. He shouts that Ryuichi is his ultimate savior and the student he's most proud to call his own. Suddenly, the rest of the guild bursts onto the scene, desperate to know what the hell just happened. They rushed back the second the villagers were out of harm's way. He tells Ryoichi that his sisters were absolutely terrified for his life. Mia breaks down in tears, overwhelmed with relief that her big brother is still alive. Perched on her sister's shoulders, Moa screams Ryoichi's name for the whole world to hear. The craftsmen stand paralyzed, staring at the mountain of flesh that used to be a terrifying monster. They swarm him instantly, demanding to know how he and Jido pulled off such an impossible victory. Dazed and confused, Ryoichi admits he just moved on pure instinct while the beast tried to rip his arm off. A guild member shouts in panic, noticing the horrific amount of blood pouring from his left side. Ryoichi looks over and his blood runs cold. His own severed arm is lying right there on the ground. Between the massive blood loss and total exhaustion, his body finally gives out and he collapses. Guido thrusts the severed arm into the air, declaring Ryoichi a legendary hero. He later assures Ryoichi that the arm is buried deep, and his secret is safe forever. The sun climbs over the horizon, bathing the quiet village of IAS in a peaceful glow. Inside a quiet room at the inn, the sweet sound of birdsong drifts through the window. Ryoichi's eyes flutter open as he finally claws his way back to consciousness. He struggles to sit up, his body mummified in bandages as he tries to figure out where he is. Suddenly, he spots a massive crowd of grateful villagers peering through the glass. Mary stands guard outside, pleading with the mob to let the battered Ryoichi rest. But the villagers won't budge. They're desperate to thank the savior who slaughtered the beast. Mary holds the line, declaring that absolutely no one is allowed inside but the inn staff. Nassel teases that every single purchase comes with a golden ticket to see him in person. Ryoichi's eyes snap open as he realizes he's finally back at the forest respite. Suddenly, he feels something shifting right next to him under the blankets. He's completely blindsided to find Mia and Moa tucked away and sleeping soundly in his bed. He's totally baffled. Why are they squeezing in here when there are plenty of beds to go around? Mo starts to stir, blinking her eyes open as she lets out a sleepy mumble. She beams at him, chirping out a bright, "Good morning, big brother Ryu." He can't help but smile, gently patting both their heads as he wishes them a wonderful morning. Mia jolts awake, immediately burying her blushing face deep into her pillow. She starts apologizing like crazy for accidentally nodding off while she was supposed to be guarding him. Ryoichi flashes a kind smile, thanking them both and suggesting they go get cleaned up. He hops out of bed and swings the door open to the hallway. Downstairs, the men are already whispering, unable to believe such a refined gentleman actually exists. Ryuichi realizes right then and there that rumors in this place travel like wildfire. He stands tall at the top of the staircase with his two sisters right by his side. Waiting at the bottom is a stunning swordswoman with sharp fox ears. Her piercing, intelligent eyes are locked onto him with total focus. Ryuichi can't help but wonder why this beastkin is staring him down so intensely. Moa and Mia greet the stranger with polite bows and bright, wide-eyed curiosity. The warrior woman smiles at the girls, but her gaze never drifts away from Ryoichi for a single second. A stunning beast woman named Coco Urus clears her throat with a delicate cough. She beams a radiant smile, giving a warm welcome to the young Mia and Moa. Mia is instantly charmed, thinking her voice sounds absolutely heavenly. Suddenly, the door to the Forest Respite Inn bursts open with a loud clatter. Mary greets Ryoichi with a massive grin, relieved to see him finally back on his feet. She reveals that the entire village is hailing him as their legendary savior. Mary points to a massive table stacked high with tribute for their hero. Ryoichi is stunned by the incredible mountain of fresh eggs and delicious produce. He asks the innkeeper for permission to take over a small corner of the kitchen. The mouth-watering sound of sizzling fills the room as he fires up his portable stove. Mia and Moa are fired up, shouting that they're ready to help him whip up a feast. The onlookers gasp in pure shock at his massive collection of rare, exotic spices. Moa watches his every move, dying to know what legendary dish Ryuichi is creating. He unveils a massive, cloud-like omelet that leaves the entire room absolutely speechless. Mary screams that she's never seen an omelet look this breathtaking in her entire life. That heavenly scent drifts through the air, instantly hooking the curious Coco Urus. Ryuichi flashes a smile and offers the fierce swordswoman a plate of the delicious feast. Her face turns bright red as she tries to refuse, blaming her ultra-sensitive sense of smell. Moa beams with joy, inviting the beast woman to join their family for a meal. Coco Urus is completely stunned by the little girl's pure, high-energy kindness. She finds herself dragged into the group, completely stunned by this sudden turn of events. With a trembling hand, she takes a tiny, nervous bite of the mysterious dish. Her eyes practically pop out of her head as an explosion of flavor hits her tongue. She's absolutely blown away by the deep, complex, and velvety richness of the sauce. Ryoichi reveals the secret ingredient. It's the legendary taste of soy sauce. She showers him with praise, moved by the comforting, nostalgic soul of his home cooking. She stands tall and proudly declares her name, the adventurer, Coco Urus Gavildius. Ryoichi beams with a smile, announcing that he's a brand new adventurer himself. He whips out his adventurer's card, flashing his name and rank for her to see. Coco scans the card, reading the name Ishikawa Ryoichi and his shockingly low E rank. She's dying to know. What kind of life did he lead before he started adventuring? He fumbles through an explanation, claiming he was just a lowly electrician or a simple craftsman. She shuts him down instantly, declaring that no ordinary craftsman could ever slaughter a shout-bear king. She admits he's surprisingly gentle, nothing like the cold-blooded warrior she expected him to be. Ryuichi rubs the back of his head, sheepishly confessing that his victory was fueled by a total cheat. A gravelly voice thunders from the doorway, validating that every word he said is the absolute truth. Guido staggers into the inn, wrapped head to toe in bandages but still standing like an absolute tank. Mary rushes over in a panic, pleading with him to stop moving and let his broken body rest. He brushes her off with a growl, claiming he has urgent business that only his apprentice can handle. Sparks fly as a heavy, unspoken tension crackles between the master craftsman and the fierce swordswoman. Jito instantly clocks her as a lethal blade wielder from the Coconuts Archipelago. She's blown away by his intuition and confirms she hails from the Kiran Ryu school. Jito marches Ryoichi out the door and drags him toward the woodworkers guild. He barks at his apprentice, telling him he better pick a different girl to go after. A panicked Ryoichi stammers that he didn't have any intentions like that at all. Back at the inn, Koko Yuras tells the girls that Ryoichi actually seems like a decent guy. She explains that in her homeland, every warrior is fueled by an incredible fiery spirit. A woman wandering alone with a sword faces a life of constant struggle and pain. Jito leads Ryoichi deep into the guild hall to face two of the village's most respected elders. Guildmaster Yask welcomes Ryoichi, noting that it's been quite a long time since they last crossed paths. Jito stands tall beside Ryoichi, introducing him to the man waiting before them. The man steps forward, revealing himself as Corius, the powerful chief of Eus village. Corius begins spinning a grim tale of a dragon's path of absolute destruction. Ryuichi's jaw drops as he learns a monstrous dragon once laid waste to this very village. The legendary Duke of Corvalli personally led a massive army to crush the winged nightmare. A pair of twin dragons had unleashed pure chaos, leaving the entire island in ruins. The Duke's elite forces and the world's deadliest adventurers were called to the front lines for all-out war. Following a blood-soaked struggle, the dragons were finally slaughtered. But the price of victory was staggering. Ryuichi can't wrap his head around how such a serene village survived such a horrific catastrophe. With a heavy heart, Jito reveals the terrifying truth. Those two dragons were actually a breeding pair. A lone egg has finally cracked open, and the creature inside is fueled by pure, unadulterated hatred for all mankind. Korea raises a sealed letter, declaring that Baron Arrol must be warned before it's too late. He officially begs Ryoichi to step up as their champion and deliver this vital message. Ryuichi stands there frozen, completely crushed by the weight of this massive new burden. The elders promise him he doesn't have to move until every single one of his battle scars has mended. But Jada snaps back that catastrophe is looming, and they don't have a single second to waste. Ryoichi looks them in the eye, questioning if they're truly sure he's the right man for such a desperate mission. He can feel the crushing pressure of the entire village's survival resting squarely on his shoulders. Yas shouts that Ryoichi is the only hero the village trusts with their lives. Ryoichi stands there in dead silence as the gravity of their faith finally hits him like a ton of bricks. He looks up with steely resolve and accepts the high-stakes mission. News of his sudden departure spreads through the area like wildfire. Mary is completely stunned, crying out that his kindness will be his downfall. Ryuichi remains calm, telling her the village chief will explain the whole situation. He unravels his bandages, revealing that his deadly wounds have completely vanished. A panicked Mary covers her eyes, screaming at him to stop stripping right there. He announces his departure for tomorrow morning, feeling the sweat of his hard work. With his path chosen, he decides to tackle one final mysterious project. The echoes of hammering and sawing blast from outside the house. Ryoichi works like a man possessed, building a massive wooden structure. Mia and Moa hide behind the corner, eyes glued to their brother as he works his magic. Moa sprints over, bursting with curiosity about his latest invention. He reveals his masterpiece, a custom bathtub powered by a high-heat rocket stove. The girls are completely baffled, since they've never even heard of a hot bath before. He promises them that a warm soak will melt away all their stress and exhaustion. Mia usually sticks to cold water, but this warm bath idea has her totally intrigued. The stove lets out one last puff of smoke, signaling that the bath is finally ready. Ryuichi tests the water and gives a satisfied nod. It's absolutely perfect. Moa shoots her hand up, desperate to be the first one to jump in. But wait, they don't have swimsuits. Suddenly, a brilliant plan hits Ryuichi like a bolt of lightning. He reaches into his stash and pulls out 2 shirts from the old Ishikawa electric shop. The girls cheer with joy, striking poses in their massive new swimsuits. The 3 of them sink into the steaming water, finally letting the stress melt away. Suddenly, a shadow looms over them, gasping in absolute horror at the scene. A completely scandalized Koko Yuris shrieks, demanding an explanation for this madness. She points a finger at Mia, demanding her age, and a trembling Mia stammers out that she's only 12. Koko shouts that back in her homeland, A girl would have been blessed by the age of 10. Ryoichi desperately tries to clear the air, but she completely shuts him down. The entire chaotic mess ends with a massive splash and a high-pitched, flustered scream. Later on, Ryoichi pulls his sisters aside, revealing he has something massive to discuss. Ryuichi knocks back a drink while Mia and Moa scream in protest against his suicide mission. He starts laying out exactly why he has to ditch them for their own safety. The girls roar that they're done being sidelined like they were during that brutal shout-bear brawl. Ryoichi stares at the floor, forced to admit that they're absolutely right. Mia smirks from the cockpit of a massive ironclad magic mech. He reveals he's beefed up the armor just in case another nightmare beast shows up. Mia promises to play it safe and bolt the second things get too hairy. Ryuichi takes off like a rocket, effortlessly matching the speed of the roaring machine. A mysterious voice gasps in shock that he's actually outrunning a magic mech. He realizes his body has evolved into something monstrous since he crushed the shout bear. His eyes snap wide as he senses a mysterious presence lurking just ahead. The fox-eared swordswoman Coco Eurus drops from the sky and lands perfectly in his path. Her gaze is cold and focused, throwing down a silent challenge that screams for a fight. Ryuichi skids to a halt, stunned by her arrival but instantly ready for action. A sharp, confident smirk plays across Coco Eurus's lips. The narrow trail suddenly explodes into a massive clearing between two towering cliffs. Ryuichi and Coco Eurus lunge forward, pushing their bodies to the limit in a frantic race. She shouts out in surprise, clearly impressed by the insane speed of his footsteps. He huffs that she's the real speedster here, daring her to see if she can go even faster. She fires back with total confidence, boasting that she'll never let him out of her sight. Moa screams from the cockpit, shocked that these two are moving at insane speeds. They transform into streaks of light, leaving the clunky magic armor eating their dust. The girls can barely track them, but they can see just how much fun the duo is having. They finally skid to a halt by a roaring waterfall, gasping for air as the race ends. Ryuichi and Coco Eurus collapse in the misty grotto, trying to recover their strength. With a smirk, he confesses that his competitive side might have totally taken over. She laughs, admitting the race was a blast and made her feel like a kid all over again. Suddenly, Ryuichi lets out a sharp cry as he senses a deadly new threat approaching. He grips his axe tight and bellows a warning to his sisters back in the mech. Cocoa Urichinero snaps into action, her focus instantly locking onto the incoming danger. A massive troll lunges at the magic armor while Moa shrieks in terror. Coco Yuri's hand blurs toward her hilt, unsheathing a blade that glimmers with deadly intent. She calls out the Hien Ryu style, bracing herself for a devastating blow. In one seamless motion, her Mei Rain slash tears through the troll, ending it instantly. The girls erupt in cheers from the cockpit, shouting their thanks to Coco for the save. Ryuichi applauds, totally blown away by the adventurer's god-tier swordsmanship. She tells him to drop the modesty, reminding him that he crushed the legendary Shout Bear King. He brushes it off, claiming he's just average and only won because of his insane healing. Coco repeats his words under her breath, clearly fascinated by his mysterious recovery powers. She wonders aloud if his gift is like a lizard man's, capable of regrowing entire limbs. She realizes it'll take just one perfect lethal strike to finally bring him to his knees. The girls watch them bonding, but the dark tone of their conversation sends a chill down their spines. Darkness still blankets the silent campsite as the world waits for the sun to rise. Suddenly, the first rays of dawn pierce through the trees, bathing the forest clearing in light. Sausages sizzle and pop on Ryoichi's stove, filling the air with a mouth-watering aroma. Ryuichi lets out a cheerful shout, telling the girls that breakfast is served. Mia and Moa stir from their sleep, their eyes fluttering open as the delicious scent hits them. Ryuichi's jaw drops and his eyes nearly pop out of his head in pure, unadulterated shock. Coco Eurus steps out of her tent, wearing nothing but a single thin white towel. He lets out a high-pitched scream and desperately slams a washcloth over his eyes. Moa giggles as her brother turns bright red, amazed by how fast his wounds are vanishing. He serves up a massive feast, determined to reach the city of Arrol before the sun goes down. They manage to snag a spot on a horse-drawn carriage that tears down the road at high speed. Ryuichi grins at the girls, telling them they hit the jackpot finding a ride straight to Arrol. Mia snaps at a distracted Moa, reminding her they have a life-or-death dragon warning to deliver. Coco Eurus grows grim as she recalls the terrifying legend of Messel Island's twin dragons. The heavy carriage thunders forward, charging across the endless, wide-open plains. Ryuichi pores over his map, dreaming of all the exotic lands he's dying to explore one day. Coco Eurus locks eyes with him, questioning if this island is actually where he was born. With a heavy heart, he reveals he's from a place so far away that he can never return. A pitch-black shadow streaks across the sky, diving straight for the group. The horses freak out in pure terror, slamming the carriage to a bone-rattling halt. The sudden crash and a blood-curdling shriek throw the entire group into total chaos. Ryuichi and Yura peer outside, their faces frozen in absolute shock. A colossal dragon with scales as black as night has slammed down right in their path. The beast's icy, slitted eyes lock onto them with a gaze full of pure malice. Ryuichi's appraisal skill kicks in, revealing stats that are absolutely terrifying. The dragon unhinges its massive jaws and unleashes a roar that shakes the very earth. Yura spots a deadly glow in its throat. A devastating breath attack is about to fire. Ryuichi desperately shoves everyone back, stepping up to be their ultimate shield. Yura stares in shock at Ryuichi's mangled, charred arm. He tells her it's nothing as his flesh miraculously knits itself back together right before her eyes. With that dragon looming overhead, Ryuichi realizes they have zero chance of outrunning it. He's terrified by the massive power gap, made even worse by the beast's ability to fly. Yura asks him if he can truly measure the dragon's overwhelming strength. He confirms it, using his broken god-tier appraisal skill to see the monster's true stats. He scans her next and realizes that while she's strong, she's still no match for this beast. Yura goes dead silent as the absolute hopelessness of their situation sinks in. She bows her head for a moment, steeling her resolve for the life or death struggle ahead. She vaults onto the roof of the carriage while Ryuichi screams that it's way too dangerous. She shouts that this dragon is just a puny juvenile, nowhere near its full-grown strength. Digging her heels in, she declares that a real warrior never ever retreats. Ryuichi watches in total shock, unable to believe she's being this reckless. His appraisal skill flashes. Her status has shifted into a state of pure spirit concentration. She screams that she'll buy them 5 precious seconds to come up with a plan. The dragon lunges straight for her, its massive talons ready to shred her to pieces. Ryuichi rushes in to intercept the strike, knowing damn well she won't survive the hit. He swings his massive axe with everything he's got, desperate to block those falling claws. He actually deflects the strike, sending sparks flying as the metal and scales collide. He slams his feet into the dirt, bracing himself against the beast's overwhelming power. The dragon's colossal leg slams into him, sending him flying with bone-shattering force. Mia and Moa scream his name in pure horror as they witness the devastating impact. Yura desperately shouts out, praying the girls are still safe inside. The dragon wheels around in the sky, locking its predatory eyes back onto the carriage. Ryuichi's heart sinks as he realizes the beast is coming back for a second strike. A surge of energy flares around Yura, but her bloody injuries tell a different story. His appraisal skill reveals a terrifying truth. Her defense has plummeted all the way to 0. Ryuichi knows she's at her breaking point, battered and totally exposed to the next attack. She realizes that one more hit in this condition will be her absolute end. The dragon tucks its wings and enters a lethal nosedive to finish her off for good. Ryuichi's blood runs cold as he sees the dragon diving straight for Coco. 3 clones desperately grab hold of the massive beast as it screams through the air. He pushes his limits with god-tier body division, unleashing a literal army of copies. They strike with everything they've got, but their blades just spark against those iron-hard scales. Horror washes over him as he realizes that neither physical force nor magic can stop this thing. He has one final move, a forbidden dark magic that could end his life in a heartbeat. With 0 hesitation, he prepares to sacrifice everything for one last shot. He screams as he summons Abyss Darkness, a terrifying vortex of shadows and skulls that consumes the dragon. The dragon shrieks in agony, thrashing its tail and ripping Ryuichi's arm right out of its socket. Blood gushes from the wound, but he's done it. He's finally bought them some time. Yura thanks him, realizing that trusting his gut was the best move she ever made. She hails him as an absolute god of war while charging up her most lethal strike yet. Her eyes ignite with a terrifying fire as she channels every ounce of her raw power. She rockets into the sky, screaming the name of the Kiran Ryu School's ultimate forbidden technique. Her sword transforms into a blinding lotus flash, a lethal cyclone of pure shredding energy. The dragon is absolutely shredded, but Ryuichi loses his grip and goes into a free fall from its back. He slams into the thick forest below, with the branches barely slowing his violent descent. The mangled dragon flees in terror while Yura stands triumphant atop the wreckage of the carriage. The driver spots the beast retreating as a panicked Mia screams to see if her friends are still alive. Yura hits the ground hard, clenching her teeth as agonizing pain surges through her broken body. They actually forced the beast to retreat, marking the first time that legendary dragon has ever tasted its own blood. They claimed victory for now, but she knows that young dragon will return with even more terrifying power. She desperately sprints through the wreckage, screaming Ryuichi's name to see if he's still breathing. She finds him collapsed in a pool of his own blood, as he weakly gasps out that he's barely hanging on. She begs him to stay conscious, reminding him that his insane regeneration ability is his only hope. He reveals that the dark magic's cost is total paralysis, and without his special skill, he'd be a corpse right now. He confesses that the mental toll of that spell is so agonizing it makes him crave the sweet release of death. Coco Eurus flashes a tender smile, telling him she's just relieved he's alive after he single-handedly saved them all. The rest of the survivors bow their heads in deep gratitude, thanking the duo for ensuring every single person made it out alive. Drenched in blood, Ryoichi and Coco can only stare in silence at the absolute carnage left in the wake of the battle. Mia and Moa sprint toward their brother, their faces a chaotic blur of terror and relief. He barely manages a weak nod as his sisters collapse onto him in the thick grass. Holding them tight, he realizes his power to defy death exists for one reason: to protect. Coco Eurus watches the Tinder family embrace, her eyes filled with deep, silent reflection. She realizes with a shock that this is the first time her lethal sword skills have earned her a thank you. With a new fire in her soul, she rallies the crew to charge toward Arrol and save every life they can. Soon, the massive, intimidating stone walls of the farming city, Arrol, tower over them. Their carriage roars through the main entrance, wheels clattering violently against the ground. The city guards instantly intercept them, demanding to know why they're riding like madmen. The driver shrieks the terrifying truth. A dragon has descended, and it's demanding an audience with the Baron. They're led straight to the Lord's mansion, a massive estate dripping with wealth and power. Mia and Moa can't believe their eyes, staring in total awe at the sheer scale of the place. A stiff-collared steward named Cross steps forward, announcing himself as the Baron's right-hand man. Cross inspects the IAS letter, confirming that every seal and signature is the real deal. Inside his office, Baron Arrol is absolutely floored, refusing to believe a dragon actually appeared. Cross quickly reminds him that their guest is the same powerhouse who slaughtered the Shout Bear. But the Baron is still doubtful, thinking there's no way they survived a run-in with a dragon. When they demand proof, Ryoichi just keeps his cool and says he's got exactly what they need in his item box. A glowing hexagonal grid flickers into existence as he reaches into his dimensional storage. He pulls out a massive jet-black dragon scale, leaving the Baron and Cross completely speechless. Cross leans in to inspect the scale, his face hardening with sudden grim respect. His eyes widen as he realizes it's a perfect match for the twin dragons that vanished 20 years ago. Memories flood back of the search party he led, where they found nothing but a single, shattered eggshell. Any lingering doubt vanishes as the Baron realizes the nightmare is finally returning. The Baron offers to buy the scale as cold, hard proof, and Ryoichi doesn't hesitate to hand it over. He vows to petition Duke Cravalli immediately, demanding an army to face this coming storm. He'll blast out warnings to IES and DWERS, grateful for the intel that might just save them all. Cross tells the exhausted group to stand down and finally get some rest while they handle the rest. Ryuichi lets out a massive stretch, finally feeling the weight lift off his shoulders as their mission ends. But Coco Eurus can't shake it. A dark sense of dread still gnaws at her soul. She realizes the army will take days to mobilize, leaving their defenseless homes wide open for an attack. Panic sets in as the girls realize their families in the dwarf lands and IS village are in grave danger. Coco Eurus makes the executive call. They need to hunker down and recover in the safety of her hall for a few days. Moa spots a market stall and points with pure excitement, dying to get a taste of that bright red fruit. Ryuichi is shocked to find actual apples here, realizing this world shares a strange connection to his own. Moa winces at the sour bite, but Ryuichi notices it looks just like a Heimringo from back home. He decides to show them how his people enjoy this fruit, and leads everyone straight back to the inn. He fires up his portable stove and gets a mysterious liquid bubbling away in a small pot. He reveals his secret recipe, a mix of sugar, water, and strawberry jam to give it that perfect ruby glow. After coating the fruit and letting it set, he unveils a batch of stunning, glistening candy apples. Mia and Moa are absolutely losing it, gushing over how adorable and tasty these treats look. Since the sun is still high, Ryoichi decides it's the perfect time to dive deeper into the city of Arrol. Moa can't wait another second and demands to devour her candy apple right this instant. Ryuji quickly packs one up for her, sending her into a total frenzy of pure joy. They trek through the massive, breathtaking city carved right into the steep hillside. Ryoichi and the group are completely blown away by just how rich and powerful this place feels. Mia suddenly shouts and points ahead, begging her brother to look at the incredible sight. Her jaw drops as she stares at a massive temple, the very first one she's ever laid eyes on. Ryoichi reveals that these shrines hold insane power, and any city with 3 of them can actually become its own nation. But there's a catch. They need 3 legendary priests or shinkien who have been personally chosen by the gods themselves. Just hearing the word gods sends Ryuichi's mind racing back to Kamashiro and the goddess who dumped him in this world. As he stares at a robed priest, he can't help but wonder what kind of power it takes to actually get noticed by the heavens. Suddenly, a tiny hooded figure nearby starts wobbling, barely able to keep their balance. The mysterious figure tips forward, completely giving in to pure exhaustion or starvation. Ryuichi lunges forward, catching the small priest just before they slam into the dirt. He's stunned. How could a kid just drop like that out of nowhere? Moa rushes over with her candy apple, her voice filled with worry as she checks on the fallen child. But then, a sharp glint flashes from beneath that hood the second they lay eyes on the sugary snack. In a blur of motion, the priest rips the candy apple right out of Moa's hands, leaving her frozen in shock. They start tearing into the treat like a wild animal while Moa screams out in total disbelief. Moa bursts into a loud wail, her face scrunching up in pure heartbreak over her stolen snack. Ryoichi rushes to her side, desperately promising that they've got plenty more waiting for them. He remembers his backup plan and whips out a fresh box of sister donuts. He offers the treats to the sobbing Moa, hoping this sugary surprise will dry her tears. As soon as she takes a bite, her sadness vanishes and a massive smile lights up her face. But the hooded figure's eyes lock onto that box with a renewed, predatory hunger. Without warning, they lunge forward and snatch the entire box right out of Moa's hands. Ryoichi stands frozen in shock as they start shoveling multiple donuts into their mouth at once. He grabs them in a rage, screaming that he'll never forgive them for making Moa cry. Suddenly, a tiny, defiant voice snaps from under the hood, insisting they aren't a child. In one swift motion, the stranger rips off their hood to reveal their face. She introduces herself as Maro, a 24-year-old elven priestess and a fully grown adult. Ryoichi just glares down at her, convinced that because she's an elf, she's nothing but a bratty kid. He snatches up the fuming Maro, shouting that a little brat like her needs a serious lesson in discipline. Tomorrow thrashes around in his grip, screaming to know exactly what he plans to do with her. Ryoichi drags her away, determined to hand this lost child over to the city guards. She howls in protest, swearing she's a high-ranking priestess handpicked by the gods themselves. Ryuichi snaps back that he doesn't care who she is. Stealing is a crime that won't be ignored. Moa steps up with tears in her eyes, demanding that Maro apologize for snatching her precious apple. Maro looks completely baffled as she realizes that sweet red jewel she devoured was actually just a candy apple. She remembers hitting rock bottom when a glowing snack suddenly appeared like a miracle from above. Suddenly, it hits her. This wasn't a gift from some random god, but a blessing from Lady Undine herself. Her eyes explode into a massive geyser of tears that gushes out with a roar. It's a total downpour as she screams out apologies to the goddess she thinks she's betrayed. Ryuichi and Koko Yuris are completely drenched, terrified that this flood is some kind of divine wrath. Maro hits the floor, bawling her eyes out because she just couldn't resist those mouth-watering treats. Just then, a tiny soft hand reaches out to the sobbing, pathetic elf. Moa flashes a warm smile, telling Marin to play nice and that it's time to bury the hatchet. Overwhelmed by such kindness, Maro grabs her hand and finally gives a proper introduction. But the moment their skin touches, Maro's eyes fly open as she gasps in total shock. She reveals to Moa that she senses a rare, hidden power surging deep within her. Maro urges them to head for the Shrine of Monde to claim a divine blessing from the god of agriculture. The group stands in awe before the massive Grand Column Temple, their faces tight with anticipation. They join a sea of villagers, all waiting in line for their turn to be touched by the priestess. With a gentle smile, the priestess beckons the next person in line to step forward. She raises her hand high, chanting ancient words to call down the god's holy favor. The priestess places her hand on Ryuichi's head, but he's met with absolutely nothing. He frantically checks his status screen, baffled that his power hasn't increased one bit. Suddenly, a blinding flash of light erupts from behind him, catching him completely off guard. The priestess shifts her focus, bestowing the god's incredible blessing upon Kokayuris, Mia, and Moa. A radiant golden aura swirls around the 3 girls as they bathe in pure divine energy. Ryuichi stands there frozen, his mind racing as he realizes he's the only one without a blessing. Tomorrow reveals the truth. This holy gift has finally unlocked their dormant magical potential. Mia and Moa lock eyes, their faces twisted in absolute shock and pure amazement. Mia explodes with joy, screaming that her lifelong dream of wielding magic is finally a reality. She throws her arms around Maro, sobbing with gratitude for this miracle that changes everything. Ryuichi mutters under his breath, bitterness stinging as he feels like the ultimate outsider. Then, it hits him. Yask's words echo in his mind about the god of woodcraft's secret favor. Maro realizes the truth. He's already protected by a deity, and that's exactly why she was lured to him. She stops cold, her eyes narrowing as she wonders if he's hiding even more terrifying power. The image of a winged goddess flashes before Maro's eyes as he senses a terrifyingly divine power radiating from Ryuichi. Everything clicks for Ryuichi. This is exactly why he's been able to wield every single element since the very beginning. We shift to the stunning, ornate rooftops of Arrol as heavy clouds loom over the city. Ryuichi's squad marches through the streets, and now Maro is right there tagging along with them. Tomorrow insists on paying them back for the meal, swearing she'll work as hard as she can to clear her debt. Ryuichi lets her know the plan. They're heading straight back to Aya's village at sunrise. Moro slams her finger onto the map, warning them about a lethal dragon lurking right along their path. She beams with pride, declaring that her elite recovery magic is exactly what they need to survive this suicide mission. Ryuichi gives the nod, admitting another healer is a huge win, and at the very least, he'll keep her belly full. Maro goes absolutely wild on a massive feast, shoveling food into her face with insane energy. Ryuichi and Mia are absolutely stunned as Moa keeps shoveling food toward the starving elf. Mia is desperate for a mentor and begs Maro to teach her the secrets of her new magic. Moa trots over with her favorite picture book, pleading for the elf to read her a story. The moment Mara sees the cover, her heart skips a beat in total disbelief. She screams that this is a legendary first edition copy of The Adventures of Dread. She explains that this book is a priceless relic from her very own forest homeland. When night falls, Maro shoots Ryuichi a sultry look and whispers a scandalous invitation. Ryuichi shuts her down instantly, slamming a pillow into her face and telling her to just go to sleep. A blushing Maro swears she's totally innocent, but Ryuichi barks back that her purity isn't the problem. He grumbles for her to stop the trashy jokes so they can finally get some rest. Maro's mood flips instantly as she tenderly cups Ryuichi's face in her palms. She whispers that there's a mysterious aura around him and demands to know what he feels from her. She presses him about his past, desperate to uncover the secrets of the life he's led. Ryuichi realizes with a jolt that Maro's intuition is getting dangerously sharp. He slams the pillow back into her face, barking that it's way too late and she needs to go to bed. Maro peeks out from the shadows, declaring a temporary retreat, but swearing she'll be back for more. Sunrise hits, and Ryuichi's custom-built motorcycle and sidecar are already tearing up the asphalt. Ryuichi reveals he overhauled his father's vintage sidecar, and the girls are absolutely loving the ride. Maro fumes from the back, shouting that she belongs on the front lines, not stuck in a backup seat. Coco Eurus sprints right beside the bike, completely electrified by the rush of pure speed. Mia is having the time of her life at the hot springs, lathering up with that special soap Ryuichi brought from Earth. Moa teases her to take it easy, her playful voice echoing right over the wall to the men's side. Ryuichi sits there thinking about how wild it is to be the only guy in this entire group. Suddenly he feels eyes on him and whips around, wondering who's there. Out of nowhere, Maro emerges from the water and boldly asks Ryuichi to scrub her back. He panics, asking what she's doing on his side, but she makes it clear he's the only one she wants. Completely flustered, Ryuichi douses her with a bucket of water while letting out a nervous laugh. Once they're out, Mia and Moa look totally rejuvenated as they kick back with a refreshing post-bath drink. Coco Eurus admits the springs are pure bliss, while Maro treats herself to some delicious fruit milk. As the squad heads out, Coco Eurus points out just how much Ryuichi has fallen in love with Aya's village. Ryuichi smiles, calling the place his second home and promising they'll arrive any second. But as they reach the summit, a nightmare awaits. The IS village is being swallowed by fire. Ryuichi stands paralyzed, his mind racing to make sense of the absolute destruction. The entire group is rooted to the spot, completely shattered by the devastating sight. Ryuichi's face contorts in pure agony as the horrific truth finally sinks in. He charges into the glowing embers, desperately screaming his friends' names into the choking smoke. He collapses in the dirt, clutching his head and wailing that everyone is gone. Coco Eurus surveys the charred ruins with a cold gaze, certain the dragon has retreated to its nest. Ryuichi's eyes burn with a murderous fury as he realizes he lethally underestimated that monster. Suddenly, he remembers the giant's cave to the northwest and frantically checks his map. With hope finally burning in his chest, he tears through the woods toward the ancient ruins. He nears the cave's mouth and spots two silhouettes standing guard in the shadows. It's his own guildmates, Seekers and Taurus, keeping a sharp lookout at the entrance. They rush toward him, their faces lighting up with pure, unbridled relief that he's alive. Seekers reveals that the dragon struck, but since it was already bleeding, they managed to drive the beast away. Because of Ryoichi's desperate warning, the evacuation was a success and everyone made it out. But the mood shifts instantly as they confess that many were caught in the crossfire and are badly hurt. They deliver the crushing news that their close friend Fars is among those fighting for their lives. Deep inside a cramped infirmary, Mary sits motionless by a bedside, her back turned to the door. As Ryoichi steps into the shadows of the room, she turns around with a look of absolute heartbreak. Mary screams Ryoichi's name, her voice cracking with pure, desperate relief. He's relieved she's okay, but his eyes immediately scan the room for their friend, Fars. Ryoichi's heart sinks as the terrifying reality of the situation hits him like a truck. He spots Fars lying motionless on a cot, his entire body buried under layers of heavy bandages. Through her tears, Mary reveals that Fars took the full brunt of a dragon's inferno just to save her. From beneath the gauze, Fars's eyes flicker open, sensing that his best friend has finally arrived. He feebly extends a wrapped hand, whispering a shaky question to see if it's truly Ryoichi standing there. Fars even tries to apologize, feeling ashamed for letting himself get beaten into such a pathetic state. Ryuichi shouts for him to stay still as he desperately prepares his most powerful healing spell. A brilliant sphere of restorative water erupts in his palm, glowing with the power to mend any wound. Mauro steps forward and begins a holy chant to end Far's agonizing suffering. A shimmering, heavenly glow descends from above, wrapping the broken man in light. Far stares in awe at the mysterious radiance as his excruciating pain finally vanishes. He bolts upright with a sudden surge of power, feeling completely restored. He looks down at his hands and gasps. Those horrific burns have vanished without a trace. Mary screams his name, her face glowing with pure, unadulterated joy. Far thanks Ryuichi, but the hero humbly insists he didn't do a single thing. All throughout the cave, the wounded villagers erupt in cheers as their own bodies are healed. Suddenly, Moa shouts for Ryuichi, her expression twisted with deep concern. She reveals the shocking truth. Mauro collapsed the second she finished that massive healing spell. Ryuichi sprints to the collapsed elf's side, desperately checking to see if she's still with them. Mauro is sprawled on the ground, but her stomach lets out a thunderous roar of pure hunger. Ryuichi stares in awe, questioning if that blinding healing light truly reached every corner of the cave. With her last bit of strength, Mauro confesses that her divine powers leave her with a massive craving for sweets. Ryuichi flashes a grin and presents a tray of glistening candy apples just for her. The mighty priestess tears into the treats, finally at peace now that her mission is complete. Ryuichi looms at the cave's mouth, his mind racing to uncover the secret behind that mysterious glow. Jido suddenly emerges, a wave of pure relief washing over him as he sees his apprentice alive and well. He drops to his knees, offering his deepest gratitude to the tiny priestess for her miraculous work. Gaido is stunned to find his shattered leg completely mended and his old aches totally gone. Village Chief Kori steps forward, offering his deepest gratitude to Ryoichi for delivering that vital letter. But guilt stings Ryuichi's heart, as he desperately wishes he could have arrived even sooner. His eyes snap wide in total shock as the chief's words finally sink in. He's stunned, demanding to know how the chief could possibly be so sure the message got through. The chief reveals the incredible truth. They managed to survive without a single casualty. He explains that the Baron dispatched a reinforcement to IAS the very moment he received the word. He introduces Masikis, a powerhouse retainer who single-handedly drove that terrifying dragon back. Masikis remains humble, insisting the dragon was already battered and wounded before she even arrived. Ryuichi immediately deflects the praise, declaring that the real credit belongs to Koko Urus. The second that name is spoken, Koko Urus gasps as a wave of recognition hits her. She gasps, asking if this is truly the legendary A-rank powerhouse, Masiki the Adamant. Masiki just smirks, hearing a name she hasn't used since her glory days on the battlefield. Her legend is terrifying. A lone warrior who once slaughtered a massive chimera single-handedly. Ryoichi is stunned, unable to believe this gentle woman hides such a monstrous reputation. Gaido's blood runs cold as he realizes they have to survive for days before backup arrives. Coco Eurus admits she totally underestimated the dragon's wicked intelligence and its burning spite for humans. That beast is blinded by rage, and it's definitely coming back for blood before help shows up. This cramped cave won't hold 500 people. They need a real fortress to survive the night. Suddenly, a bolt of inspiration hits Ryoichi. A desperate plan that might just save everyone. He charges deep into the ruins, leading them to a massive high-tech door sealed tight. They plunge down a pitch-black staircase, heading straight into a hidden underground vault. Masaki's eyes widen as he spots a triangular seal, the unmistakable mark of legendary ancient magic. Ryuichi confirms the name with a nod. The infamous Senkika Magic Tool Company. Masaki groans, hating that these complex masterpieces have been reduced to piles of worthless scrap. Ryoichi speaks up, insisting that throwing these treasures away is a total tragedy. He's dead certain that even if it's shattered, it can still be brought back to life. They finally hit the entrance of a massive chamber, buried in a thick, eerie darkness. Ryoichi searches the wall and finds exactly what he's looking for. A light switch. With a heavy click, the switch flips, and the entire room is instantly flooded with brilliant light. They're absolutely floored to see a colossal, futuristic hangar stretching out before them. Masaki realizes these lights are cutting-edge tech straight from the capital. Ryoichi grins, thrilled that his genius repair skills actually paid off. This massive hangar is packed with rows of sleeping, high-powered magic armor. Masaki asks if it's fully fixed, but Ryoichi admits he only got the main power back online. Suddenly, a screen flickers to life as a familiar AI greets him as its master. The AI reveals it's been desperately waiting for the day he'd finally return. Paria manifests, reciting the exact second since they were last together. Mia and Mo can only stare in pure shock at the mysterious woman on the screen. Ryoichi notices the AI's tone is way more aggressive than usual. He immediately asks the administrator for permission to turn this place into a safe haven. Maro is baffled and demands to know what this strange talking machine actually is. Moa steps forward, politely asking the mysterious AI lady for her name. The AI reveals the cold truth. She hasn't even been given a name yet. Moa beams with excitement and declares her name will now be Mike Shawn. To everyone's absolute shock, the AI accepts the new name without hesitation. Mike Chan immediately orders the magic armors to stand down and welcome the refugees. Ryuichi makes it clear that he's only using this massive facility as a safe haven. The chief is moved to tears, relieved that his villagers finally have a place of comfort. Ryoichi taps into his powers to provide food, bedding, and vital emergency supplies. Clutching his brand new axe, Ryoichi announces that his real training begins now. Masaki just chuckles, playing it off like she's nothing more than a harmless, retired old lady. But then, she reveals her true power. A massive, high-tech rifle that looks like it's from another world. She hoists that cannon-sized beast and aims it with the effortless grace of a seasoned veteran. Ryuichi's eyes widen as he spots the legendary triangular seal of the Senkaku Magic Tool Company. He quickly reminds her that she once said these ancient tools were impossible for normal people to handle. Masaki just flashes a mysterious smile, confirming that he's absolutely right. This rifle carries a terrifying curse. Every single person who's ever owned it has met a gruesome end. Ryuichi and Coco Eurus are absolutely stunned that she can even touch such a lethal weapon. Masaki warns them that a single mistake with this thing means instant, unavoidable death. Suddenly, Coco Eurus remembers the legendary spear that earned Masaki her fearsome title in the first place. She unsheathes her katana, her heart racing at the chance to clash with a living legend. Masaki unleashes a strike so devastating it sends Coco Eurus stumbling back. She's absolutely floored by the insane speed and mastery needed to swing that massive weapon. Ryoichi steps up, weapon at the ready, declaring that they need to go even further beyond. He swings his axe with everything he's got, deflecting a crushing blow from Masaki's rifle. Their weapons collide with a thunderous boom, sending a massive shockwave ripping through the air. Masaki is completely stunned, unable to believe the sheer power and skill he's facing. Ryuichi confesses he's totally outclassed, desperately clawing for survival in this brutal fight. Coco Eurus realizes that even now, Masaki is still hiding her true, terrifying power. She swears right then and there to unleash her deadliest ultimate techniques in this training war. Masaki calls for a timeout, warning that if they keep pushing, this fight will turn into a total bloodbath. With a final smug, well, the legendary adventurer turns her back and leaves her training partners in the dust. The elven priestess Maro is totally bored with training, but her student Mia is bursting with pride as she reveals a brand new spell. Moro beams with joy at being called teacher, while Moa desperately craves her master's attention. Moa actually compares her massive water spheres to Coco Uru's chest, earning a legendary scolding from a horrified Moro. Moro forces the girls into ridiculous dramatic poses, even though she admits they don't do a single thing for their magic. Mia's voice turns dead serious, declaring she needs magic powerful enough to actually protect her brother Ryuichi. Moro drops a truth bomb. Beginner magic is useless against a dragon, and their only priority is staying alive. Seeing the fire in their eyes, Moro decides it's time they learn the secret art of body strengthening. She explains that this rare magic shatters the laws of physics to push the human body beyond its absolute limits. The dragon's subjugation army storms onto the scene, 230 soldiers strong and ready for war. Asikis and Ryuichi are called to the front lines because they're the only ones who've faced the dragon and lived. Ryuichi tries to recruit Kokoyuris, but she refuses point blank, wanting zero part in the military's business. A heavy silence hangs in the air as the gravity of the coming slaughter finally sinks in. Ryuichi informs the commander that the beast is still just a juvenile, far from its peak destructive power. The commander is stunned by Ryuichi's incredible appraisal skills and his ability to hold back such a monster. Blown away by his talent, the commander offers Ryuichi a spot in the legendary Royal Knightly Order. Ryuichi is left speechless, his brain short-circuiting at the thought of becoming a high-ranking knight. Masiki chuckles, realizing that Ryuichi's path to nobility isn't just a fantasy anymore. But Ryuichi humbly turns it down, claiming he's still too weak and only survived thanks to his friends. The commander brushes off the humble act, claiming he has his own secret ways of measuring Ryuichi's insane power. He calls Ryuichi a total enigma, a man with godlike strength but absolutely zero ego. Stepping out of the tent, the commander sweeps his hand toward the massive army hungry for war. He points out that every single soldier is fueled by pure ambition, desperate to carve their names into history. The commander roars to his troops, mocking their enemy as a pathetic brat they've already crushed before. As night falls, Ryuichi is urged to retreat to the safety of the massive cave hideout. He steps through the high-tech triangular portal and disappears back into the secret base. A drowsy Mia rubs her eyes, giving her big brother a warm, sleepy welcome home. Ryuichi feels bad for waking her, but she's already drifting back to sleep after whispering a quick goodnight. Suddenly, Kokoyuris reveals the truth. Mia hadn't slept a wink because she was waiting for him the entire time. She turns to him, demanding to know if this army actually has what it takes to win. Ryuichi reveals his appraisal, and it's good news. These warriors are elite, lethal, and ready for blood. He decides to stay back and support from the shadows, letting the front-line powerhouses lead the charge. Back at the camp, a mouth-watering scent pulls in a crowd of hungry, hopeful soldiers. A giant cauldron of rich stew is simmering away, smelling absolutely divine. Ryuichi, Mia, and Moa are working in perfect sync to feed the entire army. Kokoyuris and Moa flash bright smiles as they dish out hot meals to the exhausted troops. One soldier is so touched by the gesture that she offers Moa a special gift as a thank you. She hands over a massive, decorated tome filled with the secrets of non-elemental magic. The elven priestess Maro hovers nearby, her eyes widening at the sight of such a rare and powerful book. Maro was mesmerized by the book, realizing its magic could be mastered in a heartbeat. A heavy, ominous rain hammered the ruins where they sought refuge for days on end. Ryuichi lugged a crate of apples, glancing back at the absolute chaos of the storm outside. He realized the army was long overdue to return from their mission. Out of nowhere, a cheerful voice shouted his name from the end of the long corridor. Young Moa came sprinting toward him, bursting with energy and begging to help. Ryuichi flashed a smile and asked her to grab some bread from the very back of the storeroom. He knew those tight, narrow aisles were a breeze for someone as small as her. Moa accepted the challenge with total focus, promising she wouldn't let him down. With the sound of tiny footsteps, she joyfully vanished into the aisles. Mo rummaged through the storeroom, hunting for the bread her brother was craving. Humming a cheerful tune, she finally spotted the bags and started gathering them up. Ryuichi watched her from a distance, a warm, proud smile spreading across his face. He realized that Mo's infectious energy was the one thing that always lifted his spirits. Without warning, a massive, bone-shattering tremor ripped through the entire facility. Ryuichi stumbled as debris rained down from the ceiling, wondering if a massive earthquake had just hit. A cold, synthetic voice blared over the speakers, declaring a maximum-level state of emergency. Terrified villagers were ordered to drop everything and sprint to the underground hangar immediately. The AI's voice boomed through the chaos, announcing that the facility was officially under attack. Ryuichi looked up in absolute shock, his mind racing to make sense of the nightmare unfolding around him. His heart sank as he watched the storeroom ceiling start to buckle and cave in. Without a second thought, he hurled the others to safety and threw himself directly under the falling debris. The very spot where Moa stood was swallowed whole by a mountain of jagged stone. Ryuichi's eyes bulged with a level of pure, soul-crushing horror he'd never felt before. Standing in the middle of the wreckage, he shrieked Moa's name with a voice trembling in agony. He slammed onto his knees, his mind completely breaking as he stared at the total devastation. Ryuichi claws at the rubble with bleeding hands, desperately screaming for his sister to say something. With a guttural roar, he heaves the massive, grinding stones aside with everything he's got. He suddenly freezes. That's the dragon's roar, but it's supposed to be miles away fighting the army. Deep within a mountain cave, the Knight Commander is absolutely fuming that the dragon managed to escape. "What do you think you're doing?" he bellows, enraged that they've abandoned the encirclement. A panicked soldier yells that the Baron's suicidal charge just ripped their entire formation to shreds. The Baron's man fires back, accusing the commander's troops of abandoning their posts just to chase a bit of glory. Blades are drawn as both sides let their pride explode into pure, violent hatred. A sharp-eyed noble named Julius watches this pathetic bickering with total disgust. Without warning, a massive surge of dark energy erupts from the cave, obliterating the soldiers where they stand. A solitary knight thrusts a bizarrely shaped blade forward, desperately bracing against the lethal magical storm. Back at the shelter, Kokoyura desperately shields Ryoichi's limp body as the ceiling begins to crumble. A colossal slab of stone snaps loose, plummeting down to crush them both into dust. She frantically shakes him awake, screaming for him to run, but his only thought in his dazed state is for Moa. Perched on a high ledge, Mia points down in a panic, screaming that Moa is trapped under the rubble. The dragon's massive head shatters the wall, and Mia shrieks as she loses sight of Moa in the chaos. Ryoichi instantly summons 4 clones, and they launch themselves into the air to strike the titan. The beast's colossal jaws snap shut, vaporizing one of the clones in a single terrifying bite. Kokoyura stares up in horror as the entire shelter begins to collapse right on top of her. Her appraisal skill flashes to life, exposing the dragon's monstrous stats and its true lethal state. She's shocked to see the beast is covered in wounds, yet it still radiates an overwhelming, crushing power. Ryuichi realizes this monster must have retreated here after a brutal clash with the subjugation army. Kokoyura draws her katana with a sharp ring, vowing to stand and fight by his side. She lunges forward, her blade carving a deadly arc toward the dragon's impenetrable scales. Her lightning-fast strikes tear through the monster, drenching the battlefield in a spray of gore. High above, Mia screams in horror, having watched Moa get buried alive in an instant. She's terrified that Ryoichi is drowning in the same blind fury that consumed her father before his death. But she can still feel her sister's heartbeat and knows she has to get Ryoichi to pull her out. A chilling realization hits Mia. If this battle doesn't end now, both Ryoichi and Kokoyura are dead meat. Kokoyura doesn't flinch for a second, gripping her sword tight as the world explodes around her. She swings a massive, devastating arc that rips right through the dragon's thick hide. Gasping for air, she demands to know how much health this immortal beast even has left. Ryuichi collapses onto his blade, too broken and exhausted to even voice the terrifying truth. Total shock sets in. Their ultimate strike barely even scratched the health bar of this level 98 nightmare. His eyes bulge in pure terror as he realizes his strongest attack barely left a scratch. He knows he has to rain down a non-stop barrage of destruction before the monster can even breathe. The dragon's gashes zip shut instantly. This beast's healing factor is on a whole different level. Kokoyura clenches her jaw, her face turning into a mask of cold, hard determination. With a deafening howl of rage, the dragon shatters the stone wall like it's made of glass. Ryoichi is completely swallowed up by a massive mountain of falling boulders. He hacks up a mouthful of crimson as his broken body finally hits its absolute limit. His healing powers can't keep up, and he desperately pleads for his body to just hold together. Kokoyura explodes with a terrifying aura, ready to drop her most devastating trump card. She realizes there's no other way. She has to burn her very life force to finish this fight. She screams to the heavens that even at death's door, she will find a way to survive. A violent vortex of raw energy explodes around her as she prepares to unleash her ultimate strike. The dragon lets out a bone-chilling roar, its throat glowing white-hot with a lethal breath attack. Ryuichi watches in pure desperation, knowing he's the only one who can save Kokoyura from being incinerated. He frantically scans the chaos, hunting for any possible way to jump in and stop the slaughter. He smashes his fist into the debris, his entire body trembling with pure, helpless rage. Suddenly, the scene shifts to the lavish, gold-trimmed halls of the Duke of Cravali's estate. A high-ranking noble named Julius steps forward, announcing he finally has a direct order for the group. Ryoichi scoffs, asking if they're seriously being dragged into yet another life-or-death mission. Julius confirms it. Their new target is the infamous and deadly black pirate fleet of Barbarossa. The legendary General Gustav is stepping up to lead the Royal Army's elite strike force. Ryuichi breaks down his homeland's ancient traditions for the elegantly dressed Fae. With a grin, he begs Faye to spill all her secrets about spirits and wild adventures. Faye turns bright red and whispers to Ryoichi that he's actually a total sweetheart. Ryoichi is completely blindsided, letting out a confused and awkward, "Huh?" Clad in heavy steel, Faye proudly introduces herself to the girls as a junior knight. Moa beams with joy, welcoming Faye and begging her to come join the fun. Faz is completely smitten by Mo's cuteness, but she warns her to keep her spirit out of sight. Mara drops a heavy warning. Spirits possess insane power and must be kept away from those with evil hearts. Suddenly, a mysterious cloaked figure looms high above in the ship's rigging. The mysterious figure locks eyes with Ryoichi, mocking him as the legendary troublemaker. Ryoichi snaps back, demanding to know how this complete stranger even knows his name. The figure's gaze shifts, instantly identifying the elven priestess, Maro. Suddenly, a lethal disc of pure shadow energy rips through the air. Maro is stunned, realizing this monster knew her identity without a single word being spoken. The figure spits out words of pure jealousy, loathing the affection Ryuichi is showered with. That dark blast slams into the ship, effortlessly slicing the massive wooden mast like butter. The pirates can only watch in absolute horror as their mast is cleaved right in half. Ryuichi throws himself in front of the girls to protect them, his tiny winged companion clinging to his shoulder. He barks an order to his familiar, Lily, shouting that they need to get the hell out of there right now. He slams his hand down to summon a glowing magic circle, desperate to warp the girls to safety. Suddenly, the cloaked figure flickers into existence behind him, mocking his fatal mistake. A wicked shadow tendril bursts from the assassin, driving straight through Ryoichi's spine. The killer sneers, asking if he really believed he could just run away that easily. Ryoichi lets out a blood-curdling scream as the pain of the ambush tears through him. He's sent flying forward, crashing violently onto the hard wooden deck. The villain laughs at his pathetic struggle to crawl away with a hole in his chest. Blood sprays everywhere as Ryoichi slams into the floorboards with a sickening thud. Mia and Moa stand frozen in pure shock, their eyes bulging at the horror. Their disbelief instantly morphs into soul-crushing terror as the reality of the situation sinks in. They sprinted toward him, screaming his name in pure desperation. Moa lunges forward and collapses into his arms, her voice breaking as she cries out for him. Even with blood soaking his clothes, he pulls them into a tight embrace and whispers that he's okay. He forces a weak smile, promising his wounds will mend as he begs them to run for cover. It's a twisted irony. Trapped by a sea of enemies, yet he's never felt more at peace. He clutches Moa with everything he has, his eyes burning with a fierce, agonizing resolve. Through her tears, Mia chokes out that there's no place safer than right here in his arms. The pirate captain, Barbarossa, watches the scene unfold with a dark, heavy scowl. He roars at his crew, demanding they remember the ironclad code they live by. He barks out a final order. No one touches the women or children, because they're family now. Ryoichi's eyes widen as he realizes the captain is none other than the legendary Barbarossa. Barbarossa points a trembling finger toward their real nightmare, the ruin mast looming above. Fed up with the games, the cloaked figure prepares to end this annoying skirmish in one fell swoop. They were just looking for a sick thrill by tossing him straight into the jaws of the enemy. Panic surges through Barbarossa and his crew as they watch the chaos unfold in terror. Ryoichi and the girls gasp in horror, feeling a crushing wave of raw power surging through the air. A colossal whirlpool of pitch-black water explodes upward, ready to tear the entire ship to splinters. Barbarossa lets out a roar of fury as the raging maelstrom shreds his carefully hidden traps to pieces. He curses his luck, watching the clever snares he built for merchant ships get wiped out in an instant. The attacker lets out a chilling laugh, declaring that the real nightmare has only just begun. They cackle with delight, swearing to turn the sky red with a downpour of blood. Ryuichi snaps back into the fight, his arm instantly regrowing as he charges for the kill. He delivers a crushing axe swing, but it passes right through the enemy's body like a ghost. He stands there frozen, paralyzed by the shock that his ultimate move did absolutely nothing. The attacker reappears with a smug grin, taunting that their teleportation magic makes his every move pointless. They let loose a relentless storm of dark energy projectiles, aiming to tear him apart. The blast slams into Ryuichi with full force, leaving him no time to dodge the blindingly fast strike. The villain demands he surrender, cold-bloodedly declaring that his death is now unavoidable. A wicked, murderous glint flashes in the attacker's eye as they prepare for the finish. Suddenly, the tables turn as 4 Ryuichi clones materialize, surrounding the cloaked figure in an instant. The villain lets out a frustrated sigh, clearly fed up with this annoying turn of events. Ryuichi braces himself, his eyes burning with cold, deadly focus. Suddenly, Mo's face flashes onto the screen, shouting to see if Ryoichi can still hear her. Faye reveals the secret. Her familiar Kahaku has been tracking every single one of the enemy's warps. Those Kraken spirits are the source. Seal them away and their teleportation is finished. A swarm of clones strikes in a frantic blur, but the attacker just brushes them off like flies. Getting bored of the fight, the villain prepares to just warp away and leave them in the dust. He points a finger with a wicked grin, swearing to slaughter Ryoichi and his entire family the next time they meet. Ryoichi hoists his massive axe, his voice turning ice cold as he declares there won't be a next time. The attacker freezes, completely stunned into silence by Ryoichi's sheer defiance. Ryuichi explodes forward, his movements a blinding blur of pure aggression. The attacker sneers at his persistence, effortlessly catching the blow with their staff. Vicious dark tendrils whip through the air, coiling tightly around Ryoichi. He spins his axe like a whirlwind, shredding the shadows into nothingness. The attacker just laughs, mocking his desperate struggle for survival. Ryoichi charges back in, winding up a massive, bone-crushing punch. He connects with a devastating blow right to the attacker's jaw. A spray of foul black blood erupts from the villain's mouth. Ryuichi tackles the dazed figure, slamming them hard onto the deck. He pins his enemy down, leaving them screaming in absolute shock. The cloaked figure freezes in silence, eyes bulging with pure terror as they scream for their familiars to warp them out of there. But Kahaku and the squad deliver the grim news. Their familiars have already been hunted down and captured. Ryuichi slams the attacker into the ground, his voice dripping with ice as he promises they won't be getting any mercy. The assassin's eyes go wide, paralyzed by the realization that they've been completely and utterly overpowered. With bone-shattering force, Ryuichi buries his fist right into the center of the enemy's face. A crimson spray of blood explodes from the guy's mouth as the impact rattles his entire skull. Ryuichi stares down with a look of pure, unadulterated rage, his knuckles dripping with the enemy's blood. Broken and pinned to the floor, the defeated attacker wheezes out a single question. Who are you? Suddenly, a flash of realization hits them, and they frantically beg him to wait just 1 second. With a shaking finger, they point at him, finally recognizing those jet-black eyes and that dark hair. Ryuichi stares in total shock, his mind reeling from this bizarre moment of realization. A chilling memory flashes back to the killer standing solitary in the haunting graveyard known as the Hill of the Dead. The vision shifts to the crumbling ruins of a kingdom that a legendary hero once called home. The attacker remembers a portrait of King Dread and his elven queen, seeing a dark reflection of them right there in Ryoichi. Drenched in blood, Ryoichi suddenly recalls the old children's storybook about the legendary hero Dread. The killer reveals that the fairy tale is actually the true story of Drad's heroic rescue of the elven princess. In that legend, the king and his princess lived in bliss, adored by every single person in the realm. But the killer sneers with pure hatred, spitting out that the story is a lie and he despises such perfect people. A horrific vision shows King Drad screaming in pain as his mind snaps, twisting him into a cold-blooded murderer. Lost in his insanity, he butchered his own family and reduced his entire kingdom to a pile of ash. The attacker cackles like a maniac, calling this a twisted tale and swearing loyalty to the corrupted king. They sneer that Ryoichi is destined for the same dark fate, offering their own life as a sick sacrifice. A magic circle erupts as they dare him to strike the final blow before his sisters are drenched in blood. The dark spell swirls with terrifying force, ready to unleash a devastating curse upon the entire ship. Vicious spikes of shadow lash out from the spell, brutally impaling Ryoichi's body. Shocked cries erupt across the deck as pirates and soldiers are skewered by these lethal blood spears. Barbarossa shoves 2 children behind him for safety and bellows for his men to take cover. Ryuichi prepares to unleash his forbidden magic, a swirling vortex of skulls forming in his hand. Perched high in the rigging, Kahaku watches with wide, terrified eyes as Ryoichi's power explodes. The spirit screams for him to stop, warning that a mysterious blessing is making his magic surge out of control. Kahaku screams a warning that this forbidden dark magic will rot his soul and leave him completely corrupted. Ryuichi mutters a quick apology, but he's dead set on using this power to annihilate the threat in his way. He finally snaps, unleashing a massive, spiraling vortex of pure, unadulterated destruction. The attacker is paralyzed with fear, unable to tell if they're being hit by a cyclone or a pillar of fire. That chaotic blast of shadow magic surges forward and completely swallows the enemy whole. The dark flames of Ryuichi's spell let out a monstrous roar, erupting with overwhelming, terrifying power. Just as the smoke begins to drift away, a single boot slams firmly onto the deck. A chillingly calm voice cuts through the wreckage, telling Ryuichi that he's done enough. It's Faye, standing tall over the defeated foe while she tells a battered Ryuichi to settle down. She flashes a cold, confident smile, insisting that he keep his hands clean while she handles the rest. Ryuichi's jaw hits the floor as he demands to know how Faye even got here. Faye reveals that since teleporting was off the table, she turned to Coco Eurus for a crazy alternative. Coco Eurus unleashed a massive spirit magic tornado that literally launched Faye across the entire battlefield. Faye completely ignores Ryuichi's disbelief and stares down at her helpless prisoner. She snatches the beaten attacker by the collar and hoists them into the air. Faye cold-bloodedly announces that she'll be the one delivering this prisoner's punishment. Shaking with fear, the captive stammers out, begging to know what she has planned. A horrific beast manifests as Faye chillingly claims this unloved child just needs a warm hug. The monster pounces, and the attacker's agonizing screams rip through the air. While Ryuichi watches in pure horror, Kahaku casually asks if anyone wants some grilled squid. A massive ship with black sails cuts through the horizon. The Royal Army's main fleet has finally arrived. The Royal Navy drags the defeated pirate ship right into Kirkport like a trophy of war. General Gustav towers over the deck, his silver armor gleaming with an intimidating glow. He struts toward Barbarossa's crew, mocking them for looking so battered and broken. Barbarossa growls that he never imagined he'd run into a powerhouse spirit user like Ryuichi. Gustav confesses that Ryuichi's skill was legendary, ending the fight without a single drop of blood spilled. Barbarossa and his crew bow low, offering their deepest thanks to Ryuichi for sparing their lives. Bound in heavy chains, the pirate captain is hauled away by two massive armored guards. Ryuichi and the two girls he shielded watch in silence as the fallen pirate is dragged into the shadows. The girls rush to Barbarossa, thanking him for keeping them safe while the chaos erupted around them. Barbarossa smirks, gloating that their arrival saved him from a bloody clash with the Royal Army. He laments not meeting Ryuichi's brother sooner, wishing he could have recruited that strength for his own crew. With his head held high, the pirate captain is marched off to face his fate. Ryuichi notes the pirates were more misguided than truly evil, a tragic reality the general solemnly accepts. Gustav explains that the capital's corruption has fueled this unrest, and the entire system must change. He tells Ryuichi that the kingdom is desperate for new talent, and promises to recommend him to the king himself. The general marches away, vowing their paths will cross again on the long road to the capital. Ryuichi stands there frozen with one of the girls, completely stunned by the general's words. Suddenly, something catches his eye. A lone figure standing far off in the distance. It's Maro, the elven priestess, standing atop the ruins with a look of pure heartbreak. Ryuichi and the girls scream her name, their voices trembling with shock and worry. Moro slowly turns around, her head swathed in bandages and her pointed ears sagging in defeat. She whispers a heartbreaking apology, crushed by the feeling that she was totally useless in the heat of battle. Guilt eats at her soul, because she failed her promise to protect Mia and Moa, leaving them in mortal peril. Ryuichi steps up behind her and rests his hands on her shoulders, trying to soothe her aching heart. Maro jumps at his touch, her face turning beet red as she stammers out a question. He promises her that she's safe now, swearing that he's the one who will handle the enemy. She shoves his hands away, demanding that he stop acting so bold. She pouts her cheeks and boldly declares she won't be defeated, because after all, she's his future wife. Ryuichi completely freezes as those words, future wife, ring through his head like a thunderclap. He's haunted by the brutal memory of King Dread slaughtering his own elven princess wife. He struggles to understand why a fellow world traveler like Dread would ever commit such a horrific act. He turns to the girl to ask about the elven kingdom, and her eyes light up with pure excitement. But he suddenly bites his tongue and tells her to forget it, leaving her completely baffled. Just then, Coco Eurus arrives with big news. The pirate chaos has finally been crushed. She beams with joy, announcing that the ferry to her home in the Coconut Archipelago is finally cleared for departure. Ryuichi flashes a grin back, knowing it's finally time to move out. Standing on the pier, He resolves that even if Dread is a transferee, he is his own man and will choose a different path. With its white sails catching the wind, the ship finally leaves the port and heads straight for the archipelago. But as they set off, a chilling thought arises. Is Coco Eurus's family caught in the center of this chaos? As the group huddles together, Ryochi asks the burning question. Has all this chaos torn her family apart? Coco Eurus admits she's in the dark, but decides now is the perfect moment to spill the secrets of her family tree. She kicks off her story with her powerhouse of a father, Toshiaki, and the 2 wives by his side. She presents a photo of the legal wife, Chono, standing proud with her 3 sons. Then comes her own mother, the concubine Monica, and her trio of daughters. Despite the massive gap in status, their father treated every single one of his 6 children with equal respect. But on the brink of the succession, the 2 eldest sons suddenly collapsed, hacking up blood from a suspected poisoning. Their health is spiraling downward, igniting a vicious, bloody war for the throne among the remaining brothers. She flashes back to her brother Koryo, mocking her, sneering that she's too weak to survive without her younger sisters. She remembers her legendary comeback, throwing a proverb in his face about how a true warrior never stops evolving. Coco and her brother Kureo stand face to face, steel drawn for the duel that will change everything. Kureo wears a twisted smirk, relishing the thought of finally ending his own sister's life. With cold determination, Coco Eurus steels her heart to commit the ultimate sin, killing her own flesh and blood. Perched on the edge of a jagged cliff, the siblings prepare to dive headfirst into their final showdown. They scream in fury as their blades collide, igniting a war for the very future of their bloodline. Suddenly, we're at the massive, ancient gates of the Gavilda estate on Ichigo Island. 2 beastmen guards freeze in shock, their eyes bulging at the sight of the unexpected guests. A 3rd guard spots the legendary swordswoman, but demands to know who the hell she brought with her. The entire staff erupts in cheers, shouting, "Welcome home, Lady Coco!" as they swarm her with questions. Ryuichi pauses at the threshold, feeling like a total outsider as he wonders if he even belongs inside. Coco Eurus flashes a warm smile and begs him to stand by her side for strength. An old retainer greets her and frantically rushes her toward her dying father's bedside. Right outside the sick room, Coco Eurus calls out her name before stepping into the shadows. Inside, her mother Monica sits in silence next to her husband, who's clinging to life on his futon. Monica gives them a stern look, warning that the room is far too crowded for a sick man. The family's leader, Lord Toshiaki, weakly gasps out a question, wondering who has come to see him. His eyes snap open as he realizes it's his daughter, and she tearfully cries out that she's finally home. He marvels at how much she's grown before shifting his piercing gaze toward her mysterious allies. Coco explains that these are the trusted comrades she met during her grueling training journey. Lord Toshiaki's eyes narrow as he senses a terrifying, overwhelming power radiating from Ryochi. Ryuichi locks eyes with the Lord, feeling the crushing pressure of his piercing stare. The Lord notes that his daughter has returned with a warrior hiding a truly terrifying power. But suddenly he's cut off by a brutal coughing fit, spraying blood everywhere. "Father!" Coco Eurus screams in terror, rushing to his side. She desperately begs Maro to heal him, and the elf jumps into action without a second thought. Tomorrow immediately casts an appraisal spell to see what's killing the Lord. She gasps in pure horror, unable to believe the twisted, complex magic she's detecting. To her shock, she realizes that several top-tier healing spells are already fighting to keep him alive. Suddenly, a tall figure wearing a fox mask and priest robes steps out, clutching a massive staff. Without a word, the masked priest fires off a massive surge of healing magic at the dying Lord. Lord Toshiaki lets out a gut-wrenching groan as the spell backfires, making his pain even worse. Monica reveals the dark truth. The High Priest's magic is just dragging out his agonizing torment. She drops a bombshell that the eldest son is suffering the same fate before demanding everyone get out. Once outside, a retainer breaks down, mourning the absolute tragedy that's destroyed this noble family. Coco Eurus immediately demands to know where her mother and stepmother are hiding. With a heavy heart, the retainer starts to spill the beans about Monica's grim fate. He reveals the shocking news. Lady Chono has thrown Monica under house arrest. Deep inside a secluded building, Monica sits in eerie silence, focused on a calm tea ceremony. Suddenly, the peaceful silence is shattered by the sound of frantic footsteps charging toward her door. Coco Eurus slams the door open, screaming for her mother in a desperate panic. Monica gazes upward, her calm face hiding a deep, heartbreaking sorrow. Coco Eurus demands to know why she's being treated so cruelly, but Monica just tells her she's safe. For now. Then she drops a bombshell. Her entire future hangs on the chaos that's about to explode. Coco Eurus reveals she knows all about the brutal, bloody war for the throne between her own brothers. The vicious feud between Mosado and Correo has ripped the family apart, turning kin into bitter enemies. Monica explains the nightmare. Chono actually accused her of poisoning the family's rightful heirs. Hearing this insanity, Coco Yuri's fist clenches as pure rage boils over. She screams that it's a total lie and swears an oath to clear her mother's name no matter what. Monica is certain that Chono is just using this madness as a cover to wipe her out for good. Coco Urus desperately asks about Correo, clinging to the memory of the sweet boy he used to be. Bam! The door is blasted open with a violent crash. Correo staggers in, drenched in fresh blood with a look of pure death on his face. The three of them jump back, absolutely shaken by this bloody entrance. "Brother Correo!" Coco Eurus shrieks, horrified to see him in such a gruesome state. He locks eyes with her, frozen in shock, as he stammers her name in total disbelief. He reveals the bombshell. Masato was the traitor all along, and he's been eliminated. This should finally wash away the shadow of doubt hanging over Lady Monica. He pushes past Ryoichi, his gaze fixed straight ahead with a cold, hollow expression. He barks a chilling order at Ryuichi. "Take Coco and her mother and get out now." Ryuichi can only watch him, his heart sinking with intense worry for his friend. Coco Eurus screams out, desperate for her brother to stop and tell her the truth. Correo turns his back in silence, vanishing into the thick shadows of the forest. Coco is paralyzed with shock, refusing to believe her own flesh and blood could betray them like this. She falls to the ground in tears, wailing that the brother she knows would never do something so evil. Faye whispers that they're clearly not wanted here, especially with the stench of fresh blood in the air. Ryoichi nods, admitting he felt a wave of pure, cold-blooded killing intent radiating off Correo. Suddenly, a sharp voice rings out from the canopy, ordering him to freeze right where he is. Two fierce girls drop from the trees, screaming to know what business he has with Coco. Ryoichi flinches in surprise when he realizes his new enemies are nothing more than kids. They roar that they don't need answers and launch into a savage, high-speed attack. Ryuichi doesn't even flinch, catching their perfectly timed blades with his bare palms. He dances through their assault, swatting away every strike like he's just warming up. In a flash, he rips the sword from one girl's grip and sends her crashing to the dirt. The other sister freezes in total shock, unable to believe her twin was crushed in seconds. Ryuichi holds back his true power, seeing right through their amateur moves before they even make them. He summons a massive vortex of wind, launching both attackers high into the sky. Coco screams in terror as she realizes the two girls are actually her little sisters, Mimi and Mimi. Suddenly, Monica rushes onto the scene, begging for forgiveness after her daughter's reckless stunt. Ryuichi just smiles and brushes it off, admitting the girls actually have some serious talent. Mimi and Mimi drop to their knees, bowing their heads in total shame for their wild ambush. Ryuichi lets out a laugh, admitting he's never fought twins before and that the old him would have been crushed. Coco Eurus is blown away by his insane progress and realizes she needs to step up her game right now. Fueled by a new fire, she's dead set on tracking down her brother Correo for a serious talk. She turns to leave, but her heart sinks as she finds her way completely barred. Two old retainers step forward, delivering the chilling news that neither she nor her mother are allowed to leave. Coco Eurus stands there in total shock, realizing she's become a prisoner in her very own house. Faye demands to know if they're trapped too, but the guard just gives a cold, "Not yet." Ryuichi's face darkens as he realizes this whole situation is spiraling into pure chaos. Little Mia looks up with hope, asking Ryoichi if he can save Coco's father just like he saved Moa. Maro remembers her appraisal clearly. The Lord isn't suffering from a curse, he's just completely unconscious. She realizes that his insane magic levels might have rendered standard healing spells completely useless. Ryoichi flashes back to his old life, realizing that where magic fails, high-tech science might be the key. He stops dead in his tracks as a brilliant new plan starts to spark in his brain. He summons Shawn, who manifests instantly, ready to serve his every command. He demands a full medical scan, but she warns that a specialized upgrade is required first. He scours his map, hunting for the exact location of that crucial expansion module. Shawn points him toward Hachiguchi Island, the closest place to find the tech he needs. It hits Ryuichi. There must be ancient ruins like this hidden all over the globe. He declares their new mission. They're heading straight for Hachiguchi Island to hunt down a cure. Ryuichi lays out the strategy while Coco Yuri confirms their ultimate goal. One of the twins looks up, voice trembling as they ask if a cure is even possible. Ryoichi refuses to back down, swearing to bet everything on the one tiny sliver of hope they have left. Coco Eurus finally breaks, admitting she's completely exhausted by her family's endless bloody infighting. With tears streaming down her face, she gazes at Ryoichi and calls him her only beacon of hope. They finally set foot on Hachiguchi Island, a desolate graveyard of sun-bleached, decaying ruins. Ryuichi's eyes widen as he recognizes the architecture, realizing it's a mirror image of Shuri Castle. The girls tilt their heads at a strange stone statue, whispering to each other, "Is that thing supposed to be a dog?" At the very base of the ruins, a massive pitch-black cavern yawns open, leading straight into the mountain's heart. Shawn reveals the grim truth. This stone golem was once a mighty guardian, but scavengers have picked it clean. Ryuichi grits his teeth, noticing that every scrap of precious magic metal has been brutally ripped away. The squad stares down the cave entrance, certain they've found another secret hideout. But Shawn shuts them down, revealing the real facility is buried deep inside the mountain itself. Ryuichi scans his map in total confusion. It shows nothing but a massive dead end. Shawn confirms the truth. This research lab is perfectly hidden from the rest of the world. She's convinced this place holds the high-tech modules needed for her next evolution. To expand her memory to its limit, she desperately needs a brand new artificial body. The magic armor tears through the cavern walls, pulverizing solid rock into dust. Moa beams with joy, saying this feels just like their old days grinding in Magic 4. Ryoichi can't help but smile, remembering when it was just the two of them against the world. He jokes to Riley that their cockpit is way past its limit with this many people crammed inside. This tiny space is packed to the brim with his family and those powerful Fae's spirit familiars. Faye is absolutely floored, admitting she's never seen a relic this incredible in her entire life. With a thunderous boom, the magic armor's fist pulverizes the final wall of rock. Ryoichi wonders aloud if the Sankikum Magic Tool Company is even still in business. The deafening sound of shattering stone echoes as the barrier finally collapses. As the dust settles, the entrance to a secret high-tech facility is revealed to the world. The massive mech stomps into a pristine, glowing tunnel that's clearly built by human hands. Ryuichi and Moa are completely stunned to find a massive research lab hidden right here. The entire facility is swallowed in darkness, with the main power systems totally dead. Inside the cockpit, Shawn frantically scans the facility's floor plans for a way forward. She pinpoints their first target, the massive generator buried deep on the third basement floor. The squad plunges down the pitch-black stairs, with only Ryuichi's flickering lantern cutting through the gloom. Moa shivers at the suffocating darkness, and Ryoichi can't help but agree. This place is a total nightmare. Ryoichi's face hardens as he calculates their every move, knowing one mistake could be fatal. He turns to Faye, demanding to know why a facility this massive was ever left to rot. Faith pauses, weighing her words carefully before revealing her chilling theory. She explains that the current company are nothing but scavengers, hunting for ancient relics to sell for profit. Ryuichi realizes they're just glorified junk dealers, but that only makes this whole situation even more suspicious. Finally, they reach the bottom, stepping out onto the cold floor of the third basement level. Inside a cavernous hall, they discover it, a colossal, silent magic generator waiting to be awakened. Shawn screams a warning, terrified that the mangled wiring is a ticking time bomb. Ryoichi just grins, telling them to relax because fixing tech is his absolute specialty. With a flick of his wrist, he summons a massive generator and a full toolkit from his item box. He throws on a hard hat and uses his breeding box to magically clone the missing part. The girls watch in utter disbelief, thinking he's actually performing an exorcism on a curse. The moment he finishes, the generator explodes into life with a thunderous growl. Suddenly, the entire facility is bathed in a blinding modern glow. With the power finally back online, Ryoichi signals that it's time to hit the fourth floor. He discovers the storage room is under cryogenic stasis, keeping every single item in mint condition. They march into a colossal warehouse overflowing with endless rows of perfectly preserved crates. Ryuichi's jaw drops as he realizes the entire place looks brand new even after all these years. Shawn speaks up, telling them they won't have to lift a finger to find the kit. She leads them straight to a massive sealed vault where her next body is waiting. They swing open the heavy door to find a stasis pod pulsing with a soft, eerie glow. Ryuichi slams the start button on the sync process, unable to look away from the android. He's completely mesmerized by the sight of a real, high-tech artificial body. Moa stares at the sleeping figure and blurts out that Shawn is absolutely stunning, but Morrow isn't impressed, watching the entire scene with a cold, silent glare. She suddenly lunges at Ryoichi, grabbing his collar and accusing him of hunting for another bride. Mia can feel it in her gut. This AI has been waiting an eternity for this very second. The pod bursts open with a sharp hiss, unleashing a thick fog of white steam. Shawn, naked and freshly awakened, stumbles out of the pod. Mia is convinced the true Shawn pulled Ryoichi here from another dimension. Shawn wobbles on shaky legs, and Ryoichi quickly grabs her to steady her. He pulls her close, anchoring her as she regains control of her new body. She reveals that touching him lets her gather precise biometric info. The stasis pod seals shut behind her as she stands tall on her own. Morrow decides it doesn't matter if the AI feels anything or not. She screams at the bare android, demanding he put some clothes on. Shawn, blushing, shyly asks Ryoichi what kind of clothes he prefers. She reveals she can mimic his data by snapping shut like shape memory steel. In a blink, she's rocking a Japanese high school girl's uniform. Moments later, she shifts into a classic shrine maiden outfit. Then out pops a bunny girl costume, tray and all. Morrow yells, "Cut it out with those scandalous, flashy clothes!" Faye and the girls giggle, finding the bunny suit totally adorable and fascinating. The scene cuts to the eerie, jagged coastline of Ichigo Island. Twins Mimi and Mimi sprint through the forest bathed in moonlight. One sister smirks, saying escaping was a breeze thanks to the sleeping powder. Meanwhile, two guards snooze soundly at their posts, completely clueless. The twins stumble upon a gruesome sight, a trail of fresh blood painting the tall grass. Tracking the metallic scent, one of them points toward the jagged coastline. In the distance, a solitary figure limps away, their back drenched in a terrifying crimson. Panic sets in as the twins realize they might be too late to stop the coming catastrophe. One desperately tries to convince the other that their brother Misato hasn't truly turned to the dark side. The scene shifts back to the grand halls of the Gavilda family estate. Chono lets out a blood-curdling scream when she sees her son Koryo mangled and bleeding. She lunges to his side, frantically checking if he's even strong enough to move. Seething with pure rage, Koryo bellows for his men to hunt down and seize Misato immediately. But a soldier delivers a chilling report. There's no point in searching anymore. He hurls a blood-drenched bundle to the ground and bellows that Misato is finally dead. Inside the cloth lies a mangled left arm, its dead fingers still locked around a wicked demon blade. Chono and the elders gasp in absolute horror at the gruesome, bloody sight before them. One elder's heart stops as he recognizes the infamous and bloodthirsty blade, Sasanuki. He tells the terrifying legend of the sword, a weapon that brings nothing but total ruin to its master. The soldier declares that the blade's malice must have shattered Misato's mind and driven him insane. Chono wastes no time, immediately pinning the blame for this disaster on Misato's entire faction. Koko Yuris steps into the fray, pleading with her stepmother to show some restraint. Chono begrudgingly admits that Monica, Koko Yuris's mother, still commands a massive wave of support. She turns her gaze to her son, Koreo, demanding his take on their next move. Koko Yuris makes a ruthless vow to strip the Gavilda name from her mother and sisters forever. Hidden from every eye, her twin sisters scale a vertical cliff with the skill of master assassins. Under the pale moonlight, she wonders if Koreo's hunger for power is actually meant to protect them. The deathly silence shatters as Lord Toshiaki screams out in pure, agonizing pain. A violent coughing fit rips through his lungs, leaving his entire body trembling in agony. Just like that, the suffering evaporates, and he's stunned by how weightless his body feels. His daughters burst into the room, screaming his name in a wave of pure, joyful shock. The entire household explodes into a frenzy of cheers, celebrating this impossible, miraculous recovery. The scene shifts back in time, locking onto the burning, intense eyes of a young Koryo. Deep in the past, the young boy readies himself to unleash a forbidden Kirin Ryu sword technique. A young Koko Yuris stumbles upon his life's work, his precious research book, ripped apart and scattered on the floor. Koryo snaps at her, spitting that her pity is nothing but a stain on his family name. She screams at him to stand up for himself and take this straight to their father. He scoffs with pure bitterness, knowing his father only has eyes for his brothers. With fire in her eyes, Koko declares that she'll be the one to train him herself. They start a brutal, secret training regime, forging a bond he'd cherish for the rest of his life. Finally, the day of the high-stakes ceremonial duel arrives. In a blur of cold steel, Koryo delivers a crushing, game-ending blow to his opponent. Defying every single expectation, the underdog stands tall as the victor of the brutal duel. But the high of his first major win is instantly crushed by a cold, dark reality. This was the dark day he stained his hands with blood for the very first time. His stepmother, Chono, brushes the kill off as a lucky break and demands they celebrate. Eaten alive by regret, Koreo creeps toward the home of the man he just slaughtered. Hidden in the shadows, he catches the servants whispering a sickening truth. The duel was a total sham. He stands frozen, paralyzed with shock as his entire reality shatters into pieces. It turns out Chono paid off his opponent, rigging the fight to hand her stepson a dirty win. The truth didn't even matter anymore. The poison of betrayal was already coursing through his veins. Despising his very existence, he locked himself away from the world, obsessed with nothing but his research. His hunger for raw power drove him straight into the arms of forbidden, soul-crushing magic. This dark path finally dragged him to a cursed, bone-chilling wasteland. Standing atop the Hill of the Dead, he's suddenly confronted by a demon with power beyond